We got about 1 minute to start. Everybody get their seat. We got about 1 minute.
Something sounds like it's Chris Mays, but it must be. I wonder what all that means.
I'd like to call the Community Facilities District regular meeting to order for November 17th, 2025. It's a joint meeting of the following community facilities districts. 1, Community Facilities District General District Number 1, Palm Valley Community Facilities District Number 3, Community Facilities Utilities District Number 1, Wildflower Ranch Community Facilities District, Wildflower Ranch Community Facilities District Number 2, Cottonflower Community Facilities District, Estrella Mountain Ranch Community Facilities District, King Ranch Community Facilities District, Centerra Community Facilities District, Cortina Community Facilities District. Will the district clerk please read the roll?
Let the record reflect that all members are present.
Thank you. Now it's time for the members of the public who would like to address the CFD board on any non-agenda items within the jurisdiction of the board. Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Will the district clerk please read the consent agenda items number 1 by title only?
Item 1, approval of minutes.
Let's see, we got to go ahead and open public hearing
I'll take a vote on the minutes.
on the minutes. Can I get a motion? You got a motion and a second? Will you get that thing in there? All in favor? Aye.
He's gotta be present.
Any opposed? None opposed? All right, well, the public hearing is for a final assessment for the Montecito Number 4 Special Assessment District within the Estrella Mountain Ranch Community Facilities District. Open the public hearing.
Yes.
Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Chair Pizzillo, board members. I'll be presenting tonight's presentation on Montecito 4. I am Kevin Custer, Deputy Finance Director. So last month, October 6th, the board held a public hearing on the feasibility report, approved the feasibility report, and ordered the work to be completed and levied the assessment. A little bit of background and a visual here. The location of Montecito 4 is in the southwest portion of the district. It's the 9th district within Estrella Mountain Ranch, approximately 172 acres, 508 single-family lots. The financing plan for this assessment is approximately $11.3 million. The project acquisition is almost 8. Reserve and interest is 1.2, and the cost of issuance and underwriting is about 304. The source of those funds is going to be processing the bond proceeds for about 10.7. The majority landowner contribution of $626,000 for the total of almost 3. And that leaves an assessment by lot of about $21,000 per lot. Since that meeting, the district engineer has determined the work is complete, the work benefits the district, and the assessments are in proportion to the benefit. So for tonight's items, we're holding the public hearing on the assessment district, taking action on ordering the collection of the assessments, and action on issuing the bonds. And on that action, we have had a revised resolution. You guys have that in front of you today. So the motion will be on that revised resolution.
Thank you.
And with that, any questions?
Any speaker cards?
No, Chair.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. See, we don't have any action to take besides conducting the public hearing, which will be have done. Does the board have any questions or discussion? Seeing no discussion, we have 2 items for business. I would like to remind the board to wait for a motion and a second before discussion. And the first item is authorizing the issuance of the bonds for Montecito number 4. Again, you've already done that presentation. Anything else? No? Anybody in the audience like to speak? See none? Will the district clerk please read resolution EMR CFD Resolution 2025-171 by title only as amended?
Adopt Resolution EMR CFD Res 2025-171, authorizing the issuance of its Montecito Assessment District Number 4 Special Assessment Revenue Bonds, Series 2025, in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $10,668,000, approving the form and authorizing the execution and delivery of a bond registrar, transfer agent, paying agent, and depository contract, a purchase contract relating to the bonds, a continuing disclosure undertaking, and certain other documents securing the payment of or relating to the bonds, ratifying and approving a preliminary official statement relating to the bonds, approving a final official statement relating to the bonds, awarding the bonds to the purchaser thereof, appointing a registrar, transfer agent, and paying agent and depository for the bonds, taking other actions securing the payment of and relating to the bonds, and ratifying all actions taken or to be taken to further this resolution.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt EMR CFD Resolution 2025-171? I see a motion and a second on the board. Open for discussion? Anything? No? Can you go ahead and open up for the vote? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item is to approve ordering collection of Montecito number 4. Go ahead. You've done your presentation. We've got nothing further. Correct. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this one? Seeing none, will the district clerk please read resolution EMR CFD Resolution 2025-172 by title only?
Adopt Resolution EMR CFD Res 2025-172, approving the assessment and the proceedings heretofore had and taken for the Estrella Mountain Ranch Community Facilities District, City of Goodyear, Arizona, Montecito Assessment District Number 4, determining the work has been completed in accordance with the plans and specifications, and ordering the collection of the amount assessed.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt the EMR CFD Resolution 2025-172? I see a motion and a second on the board. Open for discussion. To the left, don't see anything. To the right, don't see anything. All right, no further discussion. Go ahead and open voting. Passes 7-0. Thank you. Does the board have any comments, commendations, reports on current events? Seeing none, no further business discussed. This meeting is adjourned. Now we should have a pre-meeting here in 2 minutes, right?
Welcome to the Goodyear City Council meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the City Council. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. Please drop your completed card in the tray next to the blank speaker cards. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to the city employee at the back of the room. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to let council know your opinion without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The city clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
The record reflect that all members are present.
Okay, thank you. Please join Councilmember Beckles in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we enter the season, may we take a moment to remember all faiths here in Goodyear. Heavenly Father, as our city council gathers, may we seek your divine guidance and wisdom. Inspire us to make decisions that benefit our community and promote unity. Leadership is trust, and service is an honor. Guide us to steward our city's resources wisely and create opportunities for all to thrive. We thank you for our blessings as we recently celebrated the opening of our most requested business, Trader Joe's. And let us not forget, we recently honored our veterans with an amazing program. Finally, let us pray for all those who are in need of assistance. In these days and times, the need is great. May you provide help, relief, and support to all who require aid. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Councilmember. I have one communication item tonight. Proclamation recognizing November as American Diabetes Month. Will Edith Haro and volunteers please join me in the well?
Whereas the American Diabetes Association, ADA, was founded in 1940 to prevent and cure diabetes and improve the lives of all people affected by diabetes, and whereas in the United States over 38 million people, including over 700,000 in Arizona, have diabetes, a serious disease with potentially life-threatening complications such as heart disease, stroke, blindness, kidney disease, and amputation. And whereas an additional 1.2 million Americans are diagnosed with diabetes every day, and recent estimates project that as many as 1 in 3 children born today will have diabetes by the time they are 50 years old if current trends continue. And whereas the ADA has been funding innovative research since 1955 and has committed more than $37 million to research projects at leading research institutions throughout the country. And whereas the ADA fights on behalf of the diabetes community to increase federal funding for diabetes research and programs, to improve comprehensive health and insurance coverage, and to end discrimination against people with diabetes. And whereas an increase in community awareness is necessary to put a stop to the diabetes epidemic. Now, therefore, Joe Pizzillo, Mayor of the City of Goodyear, Arizona, does hereby proclaim the month of November 2025 as American Diabetes Month. Accordingly, the Mayor encourages all citizens to recognize American Diabetes Month and join the movement to confront, fight, and most importantly, change the future of this deadly disease.
Well, a big thank you to Mayor Pizzillo and the entire city of Goodyear, and on behalf of the American Diabetes Association. We cannot advance our mission without your support. You heard some of the staggering statistics And one that was not mentioned was that every 26 seconds, someone is diagnosed with diabetes. So when you think about your 24-hour day, that's over 3,300 loved ones who are receiving that diagnosis. So we can come together in this fight and encourage you all to take what you hear today and pass it on with those within your circle to share that education, raise that awareness, and join us in February for our Tour de Cure. Mayor Pizzillo is our honorary chair, and we're honored to once again have this cycling event in February as we come together as a community in this fight. So thank you again.
Can you kind of scoot in behind, stand up behind there, we're gonna get a shot with them?
Sure. There you go. Big smiles. Got it. Perfect.
Now is the time for the public who wish to address the city council on any non-agenda items within the jurisdiction of Goodyear City Council. We have any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor, we have 8.
Okay.
First up, Lisa Oster.
Lisa, the council will listen to any comments and may take one of the following actions: respond to criticism, request that staff investigate, report on the matter, request that the matter be scheduled on a future agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The timer will be on the screen and will turn red when your 20 seconds is left. Before you speak, just identify yourself and not an address, just that you're a Goodyear resident. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Oster, and I live in the community of Portales in the city of Goodyear. I'm here to give you an update regarding the concerns I previously raised about an assisted living facility in my community. A serious incident resulting in resident death occurred in September of this year, promoting further review and action. In addition, there were numerous previous 911 calls resulting in police, fire, and ambulance responding. I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to Ms. Katie Wilkin, Development Services Director, and her team for recognizing the severity of the issue and addressing it appropriately. I also want to thank a big shout out to Officer Daniel of the Goodyear Police Department for his diligent work for collaborating with the Arizona Department of Health Services to assist in this matter. As a result of these efforts, the assisted living residential facility has been asked to voluntarily surrender its license. I am grateful to the city of Goodyear in taking action against assisted living residential homes that are operating without the required zoning clearance, business license, or fire department approval. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Myra Curtis.
Good evening. I'm Myra Curtis, representing Roman's Oasis, a business in the city of Goodyear. I have good news for you tonight for Goodyear. About a couple of months ago, I had a meeting with ADOT. Many of you have recognized that there was a water tower on the south east corner of Cotton Lane and Yuma Road. As the 39-year-old business owner for our family of Roman's Oasis, we have wanted to get that water tower to bring it over to ensure the history is, there's continuity of history for the city and within our boundaries. We had quite the time communicating with ADOT, who had taken over the property at the time. We had meetings with ADOT, the landowner, and nothing seemed to work. And so I'm here to tell you that Mr. Robert Ito, who works in economic development, did a bang-up job of making sure that I had all the connections I needed to ensure that I got through the entire process with all of the knowledge and the connectivity that I needed. His relationship building was invaluable. And because of that, we were able to acquire the water tower. And because of that, we will be taking that to our new building, which we assume will be in the next 2 years, keep getting pushed back, but we will be taking it with us. It will be a part of Goodyear history that will continue on in Goodyear. And it would have just been demolished. My dad recycled things, repurposed things, and this is in that vein. We were very fortunate, if you've seen the video on your social media, that your digital communications did about the story to help the public understand what happened to the tower, because people were coming in and asking about it. So thank you so much for digital communications coming in and doing that superb story. But I really want to thank Robert Ito and the work that he did. Your whole entire economic development department, whom I've been working with for the past several years, has been superb. But I would invite you to seek out Robert and shake his hand and tell him that he did good work in Goodyear.
Thank you, Myra. It's always nice to hear that our staff and I do, we truly believe we got some of the best in the valley. So, and thank you, and we'll make sure that Robert gets recognized. Thank you. Next.
Jill Burnham.
Hi, I'm Jill Burnham. As a resident of Goodyear and a taxpayer and a volunteer with Goodyear Friends of the Library and a participant in many of the Goodyear activities, I come to you today concerned that I'm not recognized, respected, and valued in the city's holiday celebrations. While I am undeniably grateful that after 3 years of making a request with the mayor, last year city manager Wynette Reed expeditiously acquired a menorah in days and approved its placement on the city square. Due to the lack of an electrical outlet near the Christmas tree, the location of the menorah last year, as well as this year, goes virtually unnoticed due to location among large amounts of plant growth and a tree which obstructs clear visibility of the menorah. You have to really look hard to find it. Let me say that Wynette informed me today that this has now been taken care of, but I feel this needs to be part of the record. Every resident wants to be and respected 365 days a year, and I am sure our elected officials want the same. How can this be achieved when our concerns are not really heard over 3 years and action taken only in an election period or when the city wants our support? No Goodyear resident wants to be marginalized. I hope these permanent changes will be made so the city of Goodyear can truly promote itself as a progressive, inclusive, respectful community that welcomes all relatives, all who add value to the city, and the reputation as a stellar community where individuals, families, and businesses thrive and are respected. Thank you for your time and your attention to this matter.
It's my understanding that the city manager and the mayor already have something scheduled for you, and the attorney, for you to meet. And just for the record as well, when it came to my attention, as you mentioned, last year, I put that meeting together so you could sit down with the manager and the attorney to get done what needed to be done. So I just make sure that, for the record, people realize that the mayor took it on himself.
We did last year, but I spoke to you 2 years before that as well, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
Next. Whoops, go ahead.
Jill, before you leave, just a moment, please. We will be meeting Wednesday morning at 8:30 out front, so anyone that would like to have input as to the relocation of that menorah, we had the meeting already set up, but you're welcome to join us 8:30 on Wednesday morning as we look at different places to place the menorah.
Thank you.
Next.
My apologies in advance if I mispronounce your name. Chana Zalafsky.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chana Zaklakovsky. My husband is Rabbi Beryl, who is not able to be here tonight. We run the only Jewish synagogue and Jewish community center in the city of Goodyear for the past 15 years. I'm a resident of this city, a parent, and someone who cares deeply about creating a warm, inclusive, and uplifting environment for all who live here. I am here today not only as a representative of the Jewish community, but as someone who believes strongly in the power of light. especially during challenging times. As we approach the holiday season, we are reminded that this time of year is meant to bring light, unity, and hope into our community. And today, more than ever, the world is in need of great need of light, not only physical light, but the kind that lifts spirits, strengthens community bonds, and reminds us of our shared humanity. That is why I want to speak about the importance, even though it was brought up before, of placing the menorah on city property in a location where it can be seen by all. The menorah is a universal symbol of light. It commemorates the victory of light over darkness, resilience over despair, and hope over fear. Its message extends far beyond religious observance. It speaks to a fundamental human longing for goodness, courage, and unity. When the menorah shines in a public space, it sends a message that our community values these ideals and stands together in promoting them. It is also important to note the United States Supreme Court has recognized this broader meaning. In the landmark 1989 case, County of Allegheny versus ACLU, the court ruled that a public menorah display is not a religious endorsement, but rather a symbol that conveys the cultural and historical meaning of the holiday season. The court acknowledged that the menorah represents the themes of freedom and light, themes that resonate across communities and faiths, and all faiths. And that its presence in the public square is constitutional. By displaying a menorah in a visible, welcoming location on city property, we are not promoting a particular religion. We are affirming a message of hope, diversity, and inclusion, values that lie in the heart of our community. We're letting every child and every family know that their traditions matter and that they belong, and we celebrate the rich tapestry of cultures that make our city stronger. In a time when the world feels heavy, when darkness can feel overwhelming, it is even more important to add light wherever we can. A public menorah does exactly that. It brings warmth to our public spaces, fosters unity, and serves as a reminder that each of us has the power to spread light. And so with deep respect and appreciation for all of you, for all that you do for our city, I kindly request that a menorah be placed up front in a prominent location where it can be seen by all. Let its light shine brightly. Let it inspire hope and unity in every person who passes by. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Janet and Richard Kirschbaum.
These might be a little bit repetitious, and thank you, Wynette. I'm Janet Kirschbaum and my husband, Richard Kirschbaum. Good evening, city manager, mayor, council members, and community representatives. We're here tonight because many of us in the Jewish community and others who value fairness were deeply troubled by the placement of the Hanukkah menorah this year in this year's holiday display. To be very clear, we were actually appalled to see the menorah once again placed out in a field, isolated, distant, and treated as an afterthought. This placement stands in stark contrast to what was discussed in our meeting with the city manager and city attorney. The menorah belongs in a prominent and respectful location, side by side with the Christmas tree. This is not simply a matter of aesthetics. It's a matter of dignity, inclusion, and equal representation of our city. As we explained previously during a meeting with mayor and city attorney, the U.S. Supreme Court addressed this exact issue in County of Allegheny versus ACLU. The court made it unmistakably clear that when a menorah or other religious holiday symbols is part of a municipal holiday display, it should be placed alongside other seasonal symbols, such as the Christmas tree, to avoid the appearance of favoritism and to convey a message of pluralism. When displayed together, these symbols affirm that all traditions are valued. This year, the placement and last year's does not reflect that principle by placing the menorah far from the Christmas tree and other decorations with no festive light beyond the candle bulbs. The display sends a painful and unnecessary message that the Jewish community's traditions are somehow less worthy of visibility or celebration. Is this who we want the city? Is this who we want to be as a city? Goodyear's always said it values unity and respect, but those values must be demonstrated, not just spoken. We are not asking for special treatment. We are asking for the most basic standard of fairness, equal treatment. The menorah should be placed in a prominent spot right beside the Christmas tree and adorned with appropriate holiday lighting, just as the Supreme Court guidance and common respect would suggest. Making this change is not difficult, but it is meaningful. It sends a clear message that every member of this community matters equally and that every tradition deserves to be honored with dignity. Thank you for your time, and I strongly urge you to correct this, which you're going to, for the remainder of this holiday season and to ensure that future displays truly reflect the values Goodyear claims to uphold.
Thank you. Next.
Sharon Drosos.
No clapping.
Good evening, Mayor and council people. My name is Sharon Drosos. I am a Goodyear resident in Estrella Mountain Ranch. My story is a little different from the previous speakers. My husband led us into a different observance in December years ago, about 11 years ago. And we're doing things God's way. I resisted doing this because I had already had 46 years of celebrating in a certain way, and I really liked my traditions. But once you're convicted, you know what you know, and you can't go back. So this is what we've been doing for 11 years. So this is not just about the Jews. This is about everyone who enjoys this holiday. And there are a lot of us out there. So it's not just about the Jews getting equal representation. It's not just about them. There are many others who are affected and blessed by this celebration, and we're asking for you to let the light shine in this community. The Hanukkah story is about standing up for what's right. Then that is what we're doing here, standing up for what is right. It is the right thing to do, to honor and recognize all the people in the city of Goodyear. Thank you for your attention.
No, thank you. Anything else?
Dimitri Drosos.
Hello, my name is Dimitri Drosos. Sorry, I don't have much to go off of here. I just want to say, as a Goodyear resident of 21 years and previous Christian, kind of like Messianic now, I do want to say that having switched over from being celebrating Christmas to Hanukkah has been a huge blessing for me and my family. And I do want to also say that it is rather unfortunate, the position of the menorah, as we personally, the first time I've ever seen it was actually by accident. We were just around the park area and then we just stumbled upon it. We didn't see it all at any point before that point. And I just wanted to say that I believe it is very important that we focus on inclusion of, is like others have said, the inclusion of productive members of our community, and that it is extremely important that they have representation, the representation that they deserve. And again, I just want to say we have been very blessed as a family after doing change. I'm sorry. I've been very blessed following in God's path and what he's asked of us to do. And I just wanted to give my own testimony. Thank you.
No, thank you.
We have one more, Malky Drosos.
I'm going to condense this all because there's a lot that I feel like I have to say, but I'm just going to do it very quickly, and you can judge it how you want to. Thank you all for what you do. I know you don't do it for the money, so thank you.
I thought it was. No, I'm only kidding.
So I am a self-proclaimed prophet. I hear God, and I'm the one that brought the family into all this. And he tells me from years ago that I'm supposed to bring actually the Jews and Christians together somehow in unity, because Christ was a Jew and he kept the Feast of Dedication. He wouldn't be caught dead actually doing Christmas, which was actually a pagan holiday called Saturnalia years ago. As a matter of fact, it's offensive to me as a prophet to come in and see the Christmas tree and to see all these balls, because it is said to be the balls of the prophets from Jezebel used to hang on a tree. And Jeremiah 10 says, don't do those things. Don't cut it down a tree and put it in your house and honor it with silver and gold and all these things. And unfortunately, we've been taught lies. We've been taught it since, well, Constantine He brought us lies to many things, but we were told in Daniel that the Antichrist system would literally change his laws and change his days. And that's exactly what the church did. Unfortunately, I am one of them. I'm Greek Orthodox. I was raised Greek Orthodox. He was there's every other church is called Constantine and Helen. But what I'm trying to say is they changed everything so that we wouldn't know God's laws, because they know that if you keep his laws, you'll be blessed, and if you don't, you'll be cursed. And the whole fear is that the whole world knows this thing, because then people might be overcome. Unfortunately, their fears came upon them now, but now the time for the truth is here. And that's what I'm here to do, is to share it with all of you. It's very right where you put the menorah, I'm here to tell you, because he's hidden, okay? And he's hidden in darkness. And those that found the menorah were supposed to. Those that didn't followed the pagan ways and the pagan things. And I'm here to tell you now that he's changing things. Unfortunately, he's going to be cursing things like the trees that you have outside. And if somebody looks up and Googles, please, what Old Nick means. Because if you look it up in the dictionary, it'll tell you it's Satan. So you have a box, a letter to Satan outside this room. It's very offensive to God. And that's how he started it with me. He wanted me to get rid of the pagan things in my house. And I said, what pagan things? I don't have anything pagan. He showed me Santa Claus and the kids. I'm like, you're offended by an old man in a suit? And before I was even done with the thought, I realized he was jealous. Our God was jealous. So he's a jealous God, and I'm here to tell you, he's cursing the buildings that put up the trees now and all these things. I'm just letting you know, as a prophet, I have to say so, okay? Because the truth is that Hanukkah is about one family that stood up against evil. He told me I was that family once ago. And I'm like, you want me to go speak? I hate this. I hate speaking in front of public. But he told me I had to go do this. So I'm just letting you know, the blessing and the curse is here now, because the time of the age of grace is now coming to an end, and God's kingdom is coming. And it's coming through his laws and his light, which supersedes all the laws here. Does that make sense? Yes. Because everything is a blessing or curse. Okay. Well, bless you, and thank you for what you do. Thank you for your giving back to the community, because that's everything. That's what love does.
Thank you.
I'm giving my portion. As a disabled man, 22 years in Goodyear, I'm giving you my portion.
Thank you. Can you repeat the meeting again for everybody, Manager?
Yes, we had already set up a meeting to reevaluate the placement of the menorah, and that will be on Wednesday morning at 8:30 a.m. We will be meeting right out front at the stage to identify a location for the menorah. We will also look at illuminating it with a blue light from below. So all of that will take place. The menorah was placed there by an agency, an outside agency. They were following a map, but we recognize it's not in the best location. So thank you all for your comments tonight, and you're welcome to join us on Wednesday morning at 8:30.
Thank you, Manager. All right, with that, will the city clerk please, first of all, no others? Okay. City clerk, please read the consent agenda, items 2 through 6 by title only.
Item 2, approval of minutes. Item 3, approve budget amendments and related expenditure authority. Item 4, adopt ordinance number 2025-1640, approving the transfer of approximately 1.501 acres of right-of-way generally located within the north half of the West Roosevelt Street alignment west of North Citrus Road, approving the transfer of such right-of-way and extending and increasing the corporate limits of the city of Goodyear. Item 5, adopt resolution number 2025-2942, authorizing the city manager and/or their designee to execute a license agreement with Crown Castle Fiber LLC, a New York limited liability company, and to enter into separate agreements for in-kind exchanges, which may include fiber and/or conduit for the city's exclusive use. Item 6, adopt resolution number 2025-2943, authorizing and supporting Sub-Zero Group, Inc.'s application for the creation of a user-driven subzone encompassing both Sub-Zero's Cotton Lane and Camelback locations within the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone, GMFTZ, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute the amended and restated Foreign Trade Zone Agreement, payment in lieu of tax fee, and all related documents necessary for the establishment and activation of the subzone under applicable federal and state laws subject to conditions.
Anybody on the council wish to remove an item? I see Vice Mayor, you have a question?
I have a question. I've got a question on the Crown Council to install fiber optic network within the city right away. I just want to make sure that no construction goes during the Christmas holidays.
Hold on, you got somebody coming up.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself too.
Good evening, Philip Cochran. I'm Assistant City Attorney.
I'm sorry, tell me again.
Philip Cochran, Assistant City Attorney.
Is your button, hit the button.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's on, it's just too
on.
far away.
Okay.
Philip Cochran, Assistant City Attorney.
Thank you.
And what was your question again?
What's your question, Wally?
I just want to make sure with my city manager that no construction is going to occur in our right-of-ways during the Christmas holidays because it impedes traffic terribly. And we went through that last year. I don't want to do it this year, and I don't know when this authorization is going to go into effect, but I just want to be sure that they are aware we don't want them to do that to our residents.
So as of right now, this is just a new license. They do currently have a license that is in holdover status, but they'd have to go through the normal permitting process still.
Oh, I understand that. But they're going to be installing fiber optics, and I just want to make sure they're not going to do it during the holidays. And I think I need Katie Wilkin to answer this. I'm sorry.
And as of right now, all you know is that there's no plans for new installations. So I haven't heard personally if there's new plans for installations. I think they'd have to go through.
Well, let Katie.
Okay.
Let Katie.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Katie Wilkin, Development Services Director. Any company such as this one will have to go through our traffic control. We do have our holiday moratorium in place.
Perfect.
So there is some construction allowed if it's on the appropriate roadways that won't disrupt the necessary holiday traffic. So we are
Thank you
looking at
very
that and
much.
working with projects.
Thank you.
You good?
You bet.
All right, can I get a motion and a second? Seeing a motion and a second up on the board. Can we open it up? Any discussion? More? Seeing none, we open for vote? Passes 7-0. Thank you. We have two public hearings tonight. One for, first public hearing is to consider a use permit for a convenience store with a gas station. Open public hearing. Go ahead and introduce yourself for the public. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Kyle Abbott, Senior Planner. This is a use permit request for a new Walmart convenience store and gas station in Goodyear. The site is shown on the screen, located just west of the northwest corner of Roosevelt and Estrella. And the subject property is zoned C2 General Commercial since year 2002. The proposed convenience store and gas station sits on approximately 1.48 acres of property, and it is sited within the parking lot of the Walmart Supercenter main store. What we're seeing on the screen now is the proposed site plan, which includes starting at the top of the site plan, relocating parking end islands, and maintaining pedestrian paths from the main store through the parking lot to the convenience store and adjacent properties. It includes a 1,500 square foot convenience store, and just to the west side of that convenience store are the proposed underground fuel tanks. Just south of the convenience store and its parking is a 6,200 square foot fuel canopy with up to 10 fuel pumps that can serve up to 20 vehicles at a time. And a new parking island with landscaping that wraps around the fuel canopy area and helps to direct vehicular circulation patterns. The Walmart Supercenter property, in its existing condition, provides 947 parking spaces. This proposal would decrease the total number of parking spots to 819 parking spaces, and, as shown on the screen, make revisions to the medians throughout the parking lot, especially at the primary driveway entrance. The required number of parking spaces to serve both the Walmart Supercenter main store and the fuel station with convenience store is 682 parking spaces. This analysis shows us that the number of parking spaces proposed exceeds the number of parking spaces required. A traffic study was submitted and reviewed with the use permit. During our analysis, it was determined that a traffic signal is warranted at the primary driveway entrance on Roosevelt, and that the spacing between the proposed traffic signal and the existing traffic signal at Estrella is sufficient as to be able to operate in an efficient manner. The applicant will also be modifying the entry driveway medians. The purpose is to mitigate vehicle stacking at the new signal and keep internal driveways from being blocked within the center. That's the reason why we have this overall site plan that expands beyond just the convenience store and fuel station site alone, thinking about parking circulation. The proposed building elevations include colors and materials consistent with the colors and materials of the Walmart main store. The height from ground to the highest point of the proposed building is approximately 20 feet, which is well below the maximum height allowed in C2 zoning districts. The fuel canopy elevations include roofline undulation and masonry columns consistent with the City of Goodyear design guidelines. On November 11, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this use permit request. One resident provided a comment card in support of the project but did not wish to speak. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval, subject to the conditions of approval which are included as Attachment A. Staff evaluated the proposed development with use permit and convenience use criteria from the zoning ordinance. The use is similar to other uses approved within the area, including the 7-Eleven located at the northeast corner of Roosevelt and Estrella. The applicant proposes operations daily from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is similar to the Walmart Superstore's 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. operating hours, as well as similar to nearby 24-hour operations, including Filiberto's at Parkway Village and Whataburger and 7-Eleven located on the east side of Estrella Parkway. The nearest residence is located to the west of the Walmart property and separated from the proposed fuel station by a distance of 620 feet. An alternative notification process was used for this use permit. While a formal citizen review meeting was not held, notice providing information on the use permit was mailed to 70 owners of property within 500 feet of the subject property. A sign was posted to the property, which is visible from Roosevelt. And a legal ad ran in the Arizona Business Gazette Republic Edition. There were no objections to the use permit received. Based on this, staff recommends conditional approval of this use permit, which is consistent with the recommendation provided by P&Z. Mayor, Council, this concludes my presentation. The applicant is in attendance and happily ready to present if needed.
Okay, thank you. Any speaker cards?
Jeff Levy submitted a comment card in support but does not wish to speak.
Okay, the applicant is here. We're going to just hold on until we see if we got any questions for you, okay? All right, with that, anybody in the audience like to speak? Yes.
I would just like to ask the city of Goodyear, how many gas stations do we need?
Come on up.
My name is Eric Oster, and I'm a resident of Goodyear. The question is, how many gas stations does the city of Goodyear need to make you folks happy? If you look at Estrella and also Pebble Creek, it's filled with gas stations and fast food restaurants. We need more than that. With this specifically, with Walmart, it's a parking nightmare as it is. Driving through that parking lot is dangerous. By putting a gas station in there, you're going to increase the risk of people getting injured, accidents, and so forth. I asked the city of Goodyear to reconsider the number of gas stations being permitted in our city, and in conjunction with that, all of these fast food restaurants. They need to change.
Okay, thank you. With that, anything else? You want to talk too? Come on up.
Oh, it doesn't matter, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, all I want to say is that if they fix the parking lot, that would be wonderful. Because every time we go there, I say to my husband, I think a blind man designed this parking lot. He did. And, oh, okay. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Will the council still enter a motion and a second to approve the use permit for a convenience use store with a gas station on the approximate 1.488 acres property zoning C2, general commercial located west of northwest corner of West Roosevelt Street and North Estrella Parkway, open for council discussion? First one up is Councilmember Kano.
Kyle, can we go to the slide 9, the last one? And to our residents' point, that is a unique entrance. It always has been, coming in and out of that parking lot. I am really pleased to see that there will be a light. I think that'll be beneficial to moving traffic, and it also benefits the businesses on the other side, the south side, which are it's a very active shopping center as well. But would you show me, like, where's the ingress and egress? So as people get gas, where can they get in and out of this gas station? Oh, okay.
Here we are. So what we're seeing on the screen now includes circulation in and out of the fuel station portion of the property. We have the entrances and exits along Estrella Parkway as well as West Roosevelt Street. And as mentioned, the parking light proposed for the West Roosevelt Street entrance would be a requirement along with this proposed fuel station.
Okay, so and you have to make that, you come in off of Roosevelt, you turn right into the property, then you turn right towards the gas station, then you have to make that sharp turn to actually get into the gas station.
Yeah, you can make the sharp turn or follow the curved landscape island and make a left a little bit to your east.
Okay, so the red and green are both directional?
That's true,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Well, I'm the oldest person here. I'm older than dirt, but I spoke for Walmart when it came to town, and I was the only person in the audience that wanted it, and I was booed. And Walmart has been a wonderful community partner from the day one that they came into this city, and a lot of us enjoy shopping there. We do not like the parking lot. I've complained about it for 15 years. It's awful. You don't even know which way to go. It's a wonder we haven't had head-on collisions in there going around the corners. So if there's any way, if this passes, that you do the gas station, that you try to mitigate some of it, try to change some of the curbs, some of the wrong way stuff, if at all possible. I don't want to add that to it because it's going to cost money, but if you can maybe put your thinking cap on. I know it was designed, I was told it was designed to keep trucks from coming into Walmart and dropping their delivery. But trucks would have never tried to come in the front anyway. They always go to the back of the store on both sides. So that being said, a Walmart gas station is very, very popular in the South. I know when we travel, especially to Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico, they've all got Walmart gas stations, and they're usually 5 cents cheaper than the local folks. When I moved here in 2000, we had one gas station in the city of Goodyear, just one, the Chevron station on Litchfield Road. And they charged whatever they wanted to charge us for that gas. So we all drove out of Goodyear to get gas. So I'm grateful that we have people that want to bring gas stations in. You're right, we have a lot of them, but we are a growing community, and we need them. So I'm in favor of this. I'm delighted to see it. The light will be wonderful because so many times we come out of that intersection, we want to go across the street to go over to the printing shop or somewhere, or the Saddle Mountain Brewery, and it's very dangerous to get across that. So with the light, that will help us move the traffic a lot easier. So thank you, and thanks for bringing this forward.
Councilmember Terry.
Thanks, Mayor. Kyle, I also kind of wanted to emphasize the light. Can you remind us, is that a CIP project being taken care of by us, or is that part of the development?
It's the development.
This would be a part of the development.
Perfect, thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, same kind of questions. The developer's paying 100% of the light, correct?
I would have to review the stipulations regarding the light, but I think it makes sense that if the proposed development necessitates a light at this location, that would be on the developer.
Usually how it works. I just wanted for public to know that that's what's happening. So, and then, yeah, I agree. I think I was just there yesterday at Walmart. So, so I'd like to see, I do like that they're redoing the entrance and everything. And I work just south of there too. So having a light there, but the other side of the street, I see the turning lane. I think I can get out. I'm going to cut across from the other entrances there, but is there a way to widen? I see it's only if you're going north across Roosevelt.
It's one lane.
It's a straight, it's either right or straight on. Is there a way to widen that so a right turn can take a right turn without having to wait for the stack of cars that might want to go across there? I don't know if there's room there at all. I can't see that on the slide.
Is that the applicant back there? I think he went through one.
Absolutely, I'll open the conversation up to the applicant. They worked hard with us to develop a circulation plan that could be approved by our traffic engineers.
Yeah, it looks like you did a good job. But yeah,
Let's see what he
more
has to-
information would be
see what he
great
has
too.
to say. I think this is the applicant here.
Good evening. Yeah, I just wanted to be able to answer some of the on-site circulation since it seems to be a common theme. So there will be, at the traffic light, you'll be able to go straight or right, and then the traffic signal will allow traffic to flow easier in and out of it. You will still be able to make the normal movements on the further planned left side for that driveway. We've actually helped the internal circulation at the entrance. There's a previous exhibit that showed it side by side. On those areas kind of pointing towards the tip of a triangle, they actually had cars backing out into those drive aisles and through the main entrance. That won't be happening anymore, so cars can kind of flow to the signal a lot easier without cars trying to back out into cars entering and leaving.
Okay, yeah, so it increased the entranceway too, right? So
Yes,
there's more
exactly.
space for
Yep.
queuing.
Yep.
If there's a light there, it'll queue appropriately so it doesn't
Yeah.
back up at both sides.
That's
Okay.
correct, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think that's good. Like I said, I mean, Costco has a gas station. I think, like I said, I've been here since '95, and I think there's only one or two gas stations here. So yeah, so I think it'd be a good thing to have there. It makes sense. I mean, they're the private owners there. They want to use their land. They want to develop it.
I did share these details with the Planning Commission when we spoke. Walmart is consistently the cheapest gas. They also have an additional program called Walmart Plus for members that do sign up. They get an additional 10% off each gallon. The goods inside the convenience store are priced the same as any goods inside the actual supercenter, so it gives you a little bit more access to some of those goods inside the supercenter at the convenience store, as well as being competitive, if not even better than the other fuel stations in the area.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're a growing city. I mean, we have 120,000 people. I think when I was in high school, there was 60,000 people here. When I first moved out here, there was like 10, 15,000 people here. So there's definitely more need for everything. So, and I know there's a lot of growing pains with all of the growth. So, but yeah, no, I think this is fine. So I'll approve this as well. So thank you.
Great discussion for everybody. With that, can we go ahead and open it up? Passes 7-0. Thank you. The last public hearing is to approve and establish a special public improvement project area and authorize cost recovery for CIP project number 42038, Camelback Road widening. Let's go ahead and open the public hearing. Dana, please introduce yourself to the public.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve Cinto, City Engineer, and with me tonight I have Alan Smoko, one of our Senior Project Managers in Engineering. And we're here this evening requesting authorization for approval of a special public improvement cost recovery area, or cost recovery for short, for our Camelback Road widening project. So on the agenda tonight, we'll cover three main topics. First, I'll go over the background on where this process came from, what cost recovery is intended to do, and how it works for property owners and future property developers. And then I'll give a little preview of some other properties that we may be bringing to you for cost recovery in the future. And then Alan will go through a recap of the project scope for Camelback Road and go over the specifics of this particular cost recovery that we're requesting this evening. So as I mentioned, I want to give you a little background and context about the cost recovery process, so bear with me for a few minutes. Historically, development is paid for development in the city of Goodyear, and roadway construction has happened at the time of development. So as each property develops, they construct their half-street frontage per city requirements. This approach has allowed for the construction of many city streets, but it's also created several scalloped areas in the city, as you all know. And as the city population and traffic amount has increased over time, these areas, these pinch points have become more of an inconvenience, and we have started to plan to fill these in with capital projects rather than wait for development. So while the city may be fronting the funding for these projects, Chapter 24 of our city code allows us to recover the cost for these projects within a certain set of parameters that are outlined in the code. Now, it's important to note a few main concepts about the cost recovery. One, we only recover construction costs for infrastructure that the property owners would be required to construct when they develop. Two, we cap the cost recovery amounts on a maximum probable cost, so there's certainty for the property owner on the maximum amount that we assessed when they develop. So this means, of course, if the cost comes in under the maximum probable cost, that's what we recover. And then three, the city collects the cost recovery payment at the time the property owner develops, not when we complete construction. So it's whenever they either final plat or before they pull a permit, whatever comes first. And so one final note on the background, in addition to the benefit to the public to having the infrastructure in earlier and the elimination of scalloped streets, there are several potential benefits to the impacted property owner. One, their frontage is already completed by the time they develop, which could lead to quicker development timelines, as in they have or are closer to a shovel-ready project when we're completed with our project. And two, historically, prices almost always go up over time due to inflation, so they have the advantage of being locked into the cost when we construct it and not when they develop, sometimes 5-10 years later. So with that, let me just point out the location of our Camelback Road project on the screen here. This is what we're here talking to you about tonight, but it is, like I said, the first of several that we're evaluating and may bring to council over the next year or so. So in addition to that project, we have Indian School, Bullard, Yuma, Estrella, and Cotton that we're evaluating that you can see up on the screen. And so we may be back with several other requests over the next year or so. And with that, I'll turn the presentation over to Alan, who can walk you through the details of this specific request.
Good evening. The Camelback Road project will construct approximately 2.7 miles of roadway improvements, providing 4 traffic lanes, 2 eastbound, 2 westbound, from the Loop 303 to the eastern city limits. Construction will include associated intersection left and right turn lanes, traffic signals, 2 new, 3 modified, stormwater retention improvements, streetlights, raised medians, sidewalks, and landscaping, and a bike lane. The total project construction cost is roughly $30 million. The graphic highlights in the green stripe the construction limits. The widening efforts are only in the city of Goodyear on the south side, and the only north side construction improvement is at the Saraval intersection for safety around the curb returns. Widening on the north side of Camelback is the responsibility of the city of Glendale or the county and is dependent on developer improvements. On the south side of Camelback, the east and west ends have been improved by development, and between Alsop and Bullard Wash, the properties are not developed. These properties are shown as parcels 1 through 4, and these are the impacted properties identified in the cost recovery process. Now for the cost recovery process details. By city ordinance, the CIP project cannot be permitted nor eligible for cost recovery without the 5 steps shown. Plans must be designed per city standards and approved by the Development Services Department. This project has done this, and the plans are currently at 95% stage. There must be notification to the impacted properties and a public hearing held. Notices have been issued, and this is the public hearing. Council is presented with the opinion of maximum probable cost per parcel, and the council would need to approve a resolution for special public improvement area. And this is covered under the next slides. Explaining the project's collaboration notification, the CIP project has been under design for several years, achieving approved 60% plans in April of 2024. An open house was held after the summer in November 2024. The city worked with our consultant to identify the right-of-way and project costs from December of 2024 through May of 2025. The initial impacted properties contact was started in December of 2024 with formal notices issued in May of 2025. 90% plans were also submitted to Development Services in May of 2025. City has received input from the properties owners and collaborated with them since May of 2025 on the cost recovery process. And that's why the dates are listed as December 24 through September 25. And finally, the cost allocation. By ordinance, the cost recovery process states that the identified parcel owners be notified and that each parcel have an associated opinion of maximum probable cost allocated. The costs are displayed on this slide, and this is the maximum amount each parcel could be assessed for the roadway widening at the time of the parcel development stage. The city has shared and coordinated with the parcel owners on these maximum costs. The total for all 4 parcels is roughly $13.5 million. Note also that this is a bid project, so the engineer has estimated the cost allocation for the opinion of maximum probable cost. Actual costs will be determined, and the parcel owners will be notified with the actual costs after construction is completed. Thank you. Back to you, Steve.
All right, thank you, Alan. To wrap up, staff is requesting council approval of a resolution establishing a special public improvement project area and authorizing cost recovery for our CIP project number 42038 Camelback Road widening. That concludes our presentation, and we're available to answer any questions.
Any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the, oops. Go ahead.
Hello. I just want to say that there has been consistent evidence that adding multiple lanes additionally to existing roadways does not actually increase the efficiency of road traffic as much as the cost would assume it would. And actually replacing stoplights with roundabouts is actually a safer and more effective method at actually increasing traffic flow. And as Vice Mayor Melly Campbell has mentioned, we are a expanding community, and we should be using this time right now to be exploring different paths instead of just in terms of how people can move from work to home to different third space locations. Instead of just adding more lanes, we should be prioritizing improving public transportation, allowing people to improve their class mobility, especially for people who are lower income, allowing them to save up more money to get to move up the income ladder without having to worry about car payments or insurance. Also reduces crash risks and improves traffic flow by having less people required to drive a car every day to work. So I just wanted to speak my part on this. That's a public issue, not a private issue. I just wanted to make my point known. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, anything else? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. City Clerk, please read resolution number 2025-2494 by title only.
Adopt resolution number 2025-2494, approving and establishing a special public improvement project area that includes properties receiving special benefits from improvements widening Camelback Road, and authorizing the city to recover an allocated share of the cost of the special public improvements from the owners of the benefited properties.
Thank you. Council will enter a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2025-2494. I see a motion and a second. And before I turn it over for that, you know what? For many, many years, we've had the policy in which we had to wait till the development occurred before they did their half-street improvements. The problem is you got 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. And as we're growing, at least from my perspective, what that does is it creates more headaches. And I'm glad that we're doing that as long as the funds hold up. That we're able to do those improvements because we're growing and we got to keep this thing moving. So with that, I'm going to turn it over first to Councilmember Kano.
Hi, thank you. I know that this project on Camelback has been a long time in the making. There's been a number of stakeholders, and it's the last of our east-west thoroughfares really to go through such development. And I'm really glad, too, that you've worked it out with the stakeholders so you can go ahead and finish. Would you remind me, from the border of Litchfield to 303, then what are we looking at in terms of total lanes each way?
Mayor, Councilmember Kano, great question. So the current project scope that we intend to construct is 2 lanes each direction with a divided median and improvements for left and right turns where appropriate along the way.
Okay. And then once you go beyond 303, and I know this is outside of the scope of this particular project, but just the continuity of Camelback. So from 303 down to Perryville, what is the long-term projection for that?
And the long-term would be 3 lanes in each direction. And I'll clarify the last component as well. There are certain areas that are already built on the northern side in Glendale. So the transitions in the long run in that area, it'll be 3 lanes as well. But as Alan mentioned, some of that's dependent on outside of the city developing.
Yeah, it's not as simple as we would like it to be, because that is our northern border.
Correct.
And like I said, there's other entities that own or responsibility. All right, thank you very much.
Vice Mayor?
Okay, my question is really simple. Are we talking about the south side of Camelback, not the north side, because the north side is Glendale? Am I correct?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, absolutely, yes, it's the south
Okay,
side.
so it's just our portion.
Just our portion.
And so what we are doing is moving all of our West Goodyear folks who work at Luke that come right down Camelback and then turn left on Litchfield Road to go to the base.
If they come from, they can absolutely take that route,
Okay.
yes.
I just want to make sure that we're doing just our side. I know Glendale has not been completely cooperative in doing their side, and eventually perhaps they will, because that is an absolute thoroughfare.
Just my understanding is the portion in Glendale is to be built by the development committee at this point in time, but our project is within the city of Goodyear's limits.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. Steve, since we're talking about, city boundaries and even roundabouts, to my knowledge, the city of Litchfield Park, just east of our boundary on Camelback, is planning to put in a roundabout. Have we coordinated at all with them on their timing? I think they're putting one near La Loma, somewhere on Camelback to the west of Litchfield Road. That's what I was informed by their city manager recently. So I didn't know if that was on our radar at all, but that may have an issue with traffic during the construction phase all the way around. So I didn't know if that was on your radar.
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, I don't have the details of that today. I do know anytime one of our bordering agencies does endeavor to create a project that will impact the city, they do coordinate with us. Litchfield Park recently did years back when they put the roundabout in on Litchfield. And so we did look at the signal timing and adjacent, I guess, the connections to their project to make sure everything would work out.
Okay, I didn't know if it would fit in with timing of, maybe everybody does it all at once, or is it staggered? I'll leave it to you guys, the experts on the traffic flow, making sure that hinders our population to the least that we can.
And we'll be sure to coordinate with them.
Councilmember Hampton?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is a good thing, especially some of our roads that are unsafe. So not having a sidewalk or just dirt to sidewalk, getting different modes of transportation to actually connect, bike lanes, things like that too. I'm thinking of even people down on my neighborhoods, like along Yuma or Van Buren, where kids can't even ride their bikes consistently on a straight sidewalk over to the high schools and things like that. So I think having more of that complete street areas and some of those be safer for the neighborhoods. Yeah, so I think this is a good way to start it up. So thank you.
Councilmember Beckles?
Well, I travel that route from 303 all the way to Litchfield every 2 weeks for an appointment. So for me personally, it's going to be a welcome project to stop going from 2 lanes to 1 lane to, oh, I'm in the wrong lane. So I'm very thankful for this project. Thank you.
Hear that? I don't see anything else. Can you go open up for vote? Passes 7-0. Thank you. We have 3 items on business. Would like to remind council to wait for a motion and a second before discussion. First item is to adopt the city's fiscal year 2026-2029 strategic plan. Hello, Jenna. Please just go ahead and introduce yourself to the public, please.
All right, Mayor, members of the council, good evening. I am Jenna Goad, the city's strategic planning and organizational performance manager, and I'm here tonight to discuss the annual update to the city's strategic plan. I'll briefly provide an overview of our strategic plan, quickly discuss the annual update process, and then request council approval of a resolution officially adopting the updated FY26 through 29 plan. Very briefly, as council knows, strategic planning is incredibly important because it provides direction on council's priorities and helps us as staff to be more proactive in focusing on the activities that are going to help us to achieve your vision for the city. The city's strategic plan includes our focus areas, guiding principles, and goals that are established by the city council. The current plan was first adopted in November of 2023, was most recently updated last November, and includes the 5 focus areas that you can see here on the screen. The strategic plan and the action items themselves, more specifically, are used to inform the development of the city manager's recommended budget, as well as to prioritize staff's time and to evaluate potential new projects or opportunities. The council receives quarterly updates on the status of our action items, and as I mentioned, the plan is reviewed annually at the council retreat in the fall. Now, before I discuss the annual update process in more detail, I do want to pause for just one more moment to celebrate. I know I mentioned this at the council retreat, but I believe that good news deserves to be repeated. So I am very proud to share that in FY25, the very first year of our new plan, we did complete all 24 of the action items that were due last year. And so I just want to acknowledge both council and staff's accomplishments in completing all of these projects that are driving towards the future of our city and our organization. And furthermore, we are also on track to complete all of our FY26 action items by the end of this fiscal year as well. Now, to talk specifically about the annual update process, in preparation for the update, both the staff leadership team as well as the City Council participated in a survey to develop initial ideas for new action items or to propose changes to existing action items. Those draft concepts were reviewed by the leadership team and refined by the leadership team, and then ultimately discussed in depth with the City Council at your retreat on October 21st. So this resulted in the addition of 28 new action items spread over the course of the plan, and a couple of adjustments to a handful of existing items, and all of that is detailed in the draft of the plan that is attached to this evening's agenda. I do just want to point out that based on the feedback and the discussion at the council retreat, we did make a couple of adjustments to some of the action items, and I'm going to walk through each of those now. We did clarify that the investment policy item refers specifically to the city investment policy that is adopted by the City Council. We also clarified that the item related to the Goodyear Airport does now include that possible ownership would be one option that should be included in the evaluation. The outdoor events item was updated to include an evaluation of the public safety needs that might be required for hosting such events. And then perhaps the biggest update, the item related to optimizing water resources was clarified to focus on transitioning the Parks and Recreations Department's water usage to non-potable sources where possible. So this will be one component of the comprehensive water strategy item, which is an FY26 action item for this year. But then this FY27 item will provide a more detailed analysis and strategy for implementing those conversions over time. So it would include an analysis of the various locations, the available non-potable sources, the estimated cost of the infrastructure or equipment, and then the expected cost savings. So this would reduce parks' water costs over time, as well as save that potable water for other priority city uses. And then finally, the last update, we did just clarify that for the AI initiative, that project will be led by the city manager's office in partnership with our IT department. And with that, Mayor and Council, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer your questions or respectfully request council approval of the resolution adopting the updated plan.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience, any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anybody in the audience? See that, would they have the city clerk read Resolution 2025-2495 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 2025-2495, adopting the City of Goodyear fiscal year 2026 through 2029 strategic plan.
City Council, please, City Council, please enter a motion and a second to adopt the resolution 2025-2495. I see a motion second. Just for the audience that's looking on board, this thing has been thoroughly discussed in many workshops. So, as we go through there, as you go, that's kind of a quick, but no, this thing has been thoroughly vetted through there. So with that being said, I see a motion and a second. Any further discussion at this point? No. I think we've discussed this out. So with that, let's open it up for a vote. 7-0. Thank you for all your efforts on that. Our next item for review is discussion proposed utility rate increase. Can you go ahead and introduce yourselves for the public.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Keeney Knudsen. I'm Deputy City Manager here with Goodyear. I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction before I bring Ryan up here. Before we get into the details of the presentations, I wanted to provide a little bit of context and background of what you'll be hearing tonight. Just a reminder, this is not for action tonight, it's just for discussion. But shortly before, Ryan's going to come up, our Budget and Research Finance Manager. He's going to take you through the presentation on a utility rate increase plan. We also have some special guests from our Citizens Committee that are here tonight, and we also have department staff who are here to answer any questions you might have. We understand that discussing increasing rates is not a fun conversation to have, but Goodyear is not alone in working through this. If you look around the valley, you have cities who are contemplating going through this, or in the process of going through this, or in the process of implementing the impacts of a rate increase. So the rates we're talking about today are on our city services bills. They're the kind of rates to be able to pay for the existing goods and programs and services for our residents in water, wastewater, and solid waste. These are not the same as our developer type rates that are impact fees and our developer fees that are meant to pay for new infrastructure, meaning that growth pays for growth. So this is different from those. So why do we need these to have a discussion about rate increases? I think first thing is that we're maturing as a city. And as we mature as a city, our systems, our infrastructure, our equipment need to be updated and replaced in some cases, and that's additional costs. We also have seen inflation and cost increases over the past several years. I will note that we did not come back for any specific rate increases related to those trends over the last few years. Many other cities did do specific rate increases to take care of that. And as we grow as a city, we also see the need to be able to adopt some new programs and services that our residents are looking for, and some of those are included in the rates that we're looking at tonight. And also we end up having new emerging regulatory issues or compliance issues or requirements that we need to come into compliance with. And I know we've also heard as well when we're talking about rates, particularly the water and wastewater ones, the question becomes, why are they so high? Quick thing we can do to respond to that is to look at what other cities are doing and what the rates of other cities. And that can be helpful at times, but it also can be misleading because there's some things that are unique to Goodyear that we deal with here that have an impact on how our rates are, and particularly in the water and wastewater area. And so in the water wastewater area where we're located in the valley, for example, our surface water and our groundwater require additional treatment that many other cities don't have to go through. So that adds cost to our rates. And then furthermore, when we're talking about the water area, some other cities in the valley are able to take advantage of Salt River Project water. We aren't able to do that. Unless we get back, as Ryan has said before, if we get into the DeLorean and go back in time and sign on to the Salt River Project Compact. But I know Ryan is going to get into a little more detail, and the team are going to get into a little more details about what contributes to our rates, if you have any specific questions related to that. But I think the basic is that there are valid reasons why our rates where they are, and there are valid reasons why we're talking about rate increases to continue to serve our residents for the years to come. So I'm going to shift a little bit to talk about the rate process we're going through as well. It is a lengthy process. When it's all said and done, this will be about a 10-month process we'll be going through. I think the way we do it here in Goodyear is fantastic. We have a citizen committee to be able to work with city staff to be able to ultimately bring a recommendation to council for consideration. We have multiple opportunities like this to be able to talk to council about what we're planning on bringing to you. And you've provided important feedback. Just last month at the retreat, when we brought back the number of rates we were looking at, council gave us guidance to not move forward with a stormwater fee that we don't have in place now, but we were considering bringing in a stormwater fee, and I want to thank the council for that, and you'll see that change reflected in Ryan's presentation tonight. I also wanted to talk about just some of the public posting and public noticing requirements as well. We do follow all the state required, we have been following all the state required posting notifications in order to look at increased fees. But I would also say from the noticing perspective to our residents, after this evening, we'll be doing a couple things. One is including in the city services bill notification about the public hearing coming up in December to decide on the rates. We'll also be including in the December edition of the In Focus magazine, we'll be talking about the rate. And then furthermore, we'll be using our social media platforms to be able to get the word out about the public hearing in December. So I'm taken enough of your time, and I want to thank you a little bit for that, to be able to provide an intro. I'm going to bring Ryan up now to talk a little bit more and take you through the presentation. Thank you.
Before you do that, just for clarification, the rates we're talking about, because you have multiple water companies here, Liberty, we have no control over, which is people north of 10. So I understand they're going through something right now, which I assume is going to be significantly, I'm hearing, I don't know that for sure, that's significantly different than what you're going to be talking about. The rate you're talking about is south of 10. So just make sure everybody understands two separate water companies that we're dealing with here. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. That is correct.
Can we get the screen with the PowerPoint presentations pulled up, please?
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Ryan Biddle. I'm the Finance Manager of Budget and Research here at the City of Goodyear. And my presentation is everything that Keeney said, pretty much. I'll just go into a little bit more detail than him. But thank you for the preamble. So, the City of Goodyear currently has 4 utility programs that provide services to Goodyear residents. The first 2 on the slide in front of you are water and wastewater. And like the mayor said, the service area is everything within the Goodyear city limits south of the 10. That purple line on your screen is basically I-10. North of I-10, it's primarily Liberty Utilities, yes. On this slide is the other 2 utility programs that the City of Goodyear provides, and that is solid waste and stormwater. And for those 2 services, the service area is the entire City of Goodyear city limits. I will note that solid waste only provides service to residential customers and not commercial users. So with the 4 utilities and service areas in mind, the city is in the process of working through setting new rates for each of these programs. We commonly refer to this as the rate setting process, or doing a rate study. You may also hear us refer to a rate model. All these things essentially mean the same thing. For every city ran utility in Arizona at some point goes through a very similar process to ensure that they have the necessary resources to continue providing safe and reliable utility services to their citizens. Our currently adopted rate plan expires at the end of this calendar year, which is why I'm here today to share some of the updates and the status of where we're at. Rate setting is an extremely detailed and labor-intensive process, which you can see on this slide starting way back in April of 2025. Some of the key stakeholders in the rate setting process are city and staff leadership. So the primary departments involved were the Water Services Department, who oversee our water, wastewater, and stormwater programs, Public Works for the solid waste program, as well as finance to help crunch the numbers, and city leadership for additional direction, vetting, and guidance. We partnered with Willdan Financial Services, or Financial Consulting, who we've been in contact with on a regular basis since April. Willdan is the same consulting firm that we used 5 years ago for our current plan that we have in place. So they had a familiarity with the City of Goodyear and how our operations work, so we thought that was a nice advantage to have. They have a team of dedicated professionals whose entire job is to do nothing but help municipalities all across the country set utility rates for their cities, and I would like to publicly thank them for their support and expertise. Another key group is our Citizen Committee, also referred to as the Citizens Water Advisory Committee, made up primarily of City of Goodyear residents who met about a half dozen times during this process, and we shared the detailed workings around the city's utility programs with them. Last but not least, City Council. Just like we're doing this evening, we're in the process of sharing our results and recommendations with you guys. We last met with City Council, as Keeney said, on October 21st at our council retreat. Out of these stakeholders, we want to take some time this evening, specifically focus on the Citizen Committee aspect of the process. So this slide shows the various dates that we met with the committee and the purpose of each meeting. The first meeting on April 9th was our rate study kickoff. At that presentation, amongst other things, there was a Public Finance 101 discussion, a dive into City of Goodyear financials. We talked about what an enterprise fund was and how enterprise funds are different from other funds at the city. We explained that our water, wastewater, and solid waste utilities are all in fact enterprise funds, which means that the rates and fees that we charge need to cover the entire cost to provide each of these services. We discussed the various steps and timeline involved with the rate setting process and communicated that ultimately the committee's role as a key stakeholder in this rate setting process was to provide a rate recommendation to City Council. In May, the committee got, probably wasn't new information for them, an overview of the water, wastewater programs here at the city. This committee has actually been in place since 2023, and they have been meeting regularly since then, so they were very familiar with the inner workings of water and wastewater. On June 11th, we shared our solid waste and stormwater programs. On August 20th, we did our rate presentation where we discussed the various rate scenarios that we came up with, ultimately coming to a recommendation that we formalized on September 10th with the committee. That memo was attached to the agenda item tonight. It's been shared with council. That details what the committee's recommendation was, which we'll get into here in just a minute. So as part of the rate setting process, if we kind of stick with the theme of the citizen committee, we'd like to go back and recap some of the major talking points. So starting in April, we had our finance discussion, and there were three main takeaways from that presentation. The first is that we need to ensure that we are setting rates that cover 100% of the cost for these services. That's what an enterprise fund was that I just explained. Second, driven by financial policy, we need to make sure that we maintain a 15% reserve of budgeted ongoing revenues each and every single year. And third, and most critical of all, we have to do all this while attempting to minimize the impact of the costs on our ratepayers. For those who might be interested, the current rate recommendations to council are supported by about a 100-page document, which the consultant put together. It's backed by about a 10-year rate model behind that, and it includes anything and everything you might want to know about how the programs here at the City of Goodyear are ran. So, continuing in chronological order, after we met in April, in May, we talked about our water program first. Our water program is the largest of our 4 city utilities, and the key aspects of running our current system are listed on the slides in front of you. The first major component of our program is our CAP water portfolio. It's also known as Central Arizona Project. That's what CAP stands for. It's Colorado River water, essentially. That's where many of the canals you see throughout the valley, what they're used for. Another major source of water in the city includes using wells to pump and treat water from the ground. Unfortunately, again, as Keeney mentioned, a lot of this water that's pumped is poor quality. So in order to remain in compliance with regulatory agencies, we must take additional steps to purify the water, which are both resource intensive and expensive, but a necessary aspect of running a city utility. We also have 11 storage reservoirs and booster stations used to store and transport water to all needed locations throughout the city. To treat our groundwater, we use several different treatment methods, including reverse osmosis, absorption, biological, and in addition to having an 8 MGD capacity surface water treatment facility, MGD means million gallons per day. All these facilities and infrastructure require specialized staffing to ensure proper monitoring and maintenance is performed. Over time, these assets need replacing, and they may need to be expanded, the costs of which are all included in the rate recommendations. Staying on the topic of infrastructure, capital projects were discussed with the committee, and specifically the pros and cons of issuing debt to help lessen the impact on ratepayers. A few of the key projects included in our proposed rate plan are on the screen in front of you. Expansion of our surface water treatment plant. This project is programmed for fiscal year 29 and utilizes impact fees as a source of revenue, helping ensure we stick to our philosophy of growth, paying for growth within the city. Another project is Site 21 treatment improvements and capacity. This project is programmed for fiscal year 27 and adds biological nitrate removal to help deal with the poor groundwater quality we just discussed. Another project, Salt River Project lateral upgrades, is again meant to help the quality of the water as it gets into our system. And last but not least is a PFAS treatment site 18. PFAS, I said this at the council retreat. Again, I can't pronounce what it actually stands for, but think of those as forever chemicals, things that we have to get rid of. We mentioned this one because this particular project is an unfunded mandate, meaning regulatory agencies say you need to take care of this, but they don't give us the resources to do so. We also talked about what would be included in the rate increases that are being proposed. There's additional funding for our water conservation program. We will continue to outsource the operational staffing for our surface water treatment facility. We talked about issuing debt every 2 years, again, as a way to minimize issuance costs and the overall impact on ratepayers, as well as 11 new FTEs that are needed to support ongoing operations. So what does all this come down to? Again, when we presented the rates to the committee, all these factors went into play, and that looks at a 6.75% annual increase over the next 4 years. That means the monthly bill for an average residential water user in Goodyear would go up $2.71 in 2026, and would go up $35.86 for the average commercial water user in 2026. So residential is just single-family homes. Commercial is basically everything else that's not residential. I want you to note that on this slide, the amounts are based on Goodyear customer water averages. The average residential customer in Goodyear uses 7,500 gallons of water a month. The average commercial user uses around 65,000 gallons of water a month. Also note that it's important that these amounts compound each year over year. So that $2.71 in 2026 will go up an additional $2.90 in 2027, an additional $3.09 in 2028, and so on and so forth. That same night, we talked about wastewater. So for the sake of consistency with the committee, we followed the same presentation format, talking about first our existing system. Our existing wastewater system includes 3 water reclamation facilities at the city, the largest of which is our 157th plant, where we're able to treat 5.5 million gallons of water per day, followed in capacity order by our Rainbow Valley and Corrugate plants. In addition, we maintain and oversee 18 lift stations, over 7,000 manholes, and just over 12 miles of sewer main. Similar to what we just discussed with water, our wastewater program includes large investments in infrastructure. The 2 noteworthy projects are expansions of both our 157th plant as well as our Rainbow Valley plant. Again, similar to water, these growth-related projects utilize impact fees as a source of revenue, as well as developer contributions, all of which help minimize the impact of ratepayers to follow with our growth pays for growth strategy. As part of the 157th plant expansion, we're introducing new technology that will help result in better effluent quality, effluent meaning the quality of the water that leaves our facility after it's being treated. And similar to water, the vast majority of our wastewater capital projects will be funded with debt over 2 years. And the wastewater program is expected to need an additional 12 FTEs to continue ongoing operations. So what does that equate to the average customer bill? It's about 5.5% annual increase year over year. In a similar fashion, you can see this equates to an increase of $3.97 for the average residential customer's monthly bill, an increase of $23.97 for the average commercial user in 2026. Shown on this slide for reference are the average bills for residential and commercial users at 6,000 gallons for residential and commercial at just about 48,000 gallons. Moving forward in time, in June, we met with the committee and talked about solid waste. Currently, our solid waste program provides trash, recycling, and bulk collections only for residential customers. We're able to help dispose of household hazardous waste, but only 1 visit per resident per seasonal event, and we have 2 seasonal events per year here at the city. Other duties include performing inspections upon trash pickup for non-recyclable items, providing assistance with container maintenance when containers are damaged, as well as performing public outreach and education to youth on the importance of recycling. Our solid waste program is much smaller in scale compared to our water and wastewater programs. We only have a single capital project programmed over the next 4 years, which is to add a solid waste operations yard. The solid waste operations yard will include a dedicated household hazardous waste sorting area, which will dramatically improve the safety of our staff and the safe storage of hazardous materials collected from our residents. Our public works team has had multiple trucks catch on fire in the past year due to hazardous materials being included in residents' normal trash pickup as opposed to being disposed of properly. This yard will allow for extended opportunities to drop off hazardous waste as opposed to just the 2 times a year, which we're currently limited to, which will hopefully greatly reduce the risk of future fires by providing a much more convenient option to dispose of these harmful chemicals. Believe it or not, our solid waste monthly fee is at the same level it was back in 2009. I checked that 2 or 3 times because it didn't seem right to me, but as part of our citizen committee, our superintendent, solid waste superintendent who did the presentation got asked, how have you been managing with those costs not increasing? And his response was, I quote, by the skin of our teeth. So, but in our proposed plan, we have programmed just that single debt issuance, and the solid waste program is expected to need 6 additional FTEs or full-time equivalent employees to continue operations. So solid waste, what does that equate to from a customer bill standpoint? On the residential side, $1.82 increase in your monthly bill in 2026, $1.97 in 2027, so on and so forth. Again, we don't provide solid waste services to commercial, so it's not listed here. Last but not least, the same night we covered stormwater. Stormwater is slightly unique from the other utilities in that we don't currently have a stormwater fee. Staff was tasked with bringing a recommendation to council for evaluation. So we went through the same rate setting process with stormwater as we did with water, wastewater, and solid waste. A stormwater fee was proposed as part of our last study in 2020, but council chose not to move forward with it at that point in time. The cost of providing this service today is being paid out of the general fund, the same place where we fund most of our city operations, including public safety and parks, just to name a few. So because there was no existing fee in place, a few different scenarios with the committee were thrown around, and ultimately we landed on a flat fee per month model as the preferred method. On this slide, you can see what that flat fee per month recommendation would be, broken down again between residential and commercial. Just like the other slides, these amounts would have been cumulative in nature over the 4 years of the plan. So the proposed rate increases we just went over were all discussed with the committee in August, and there was great discussion and engagement from everyone in attendance. In addition to recapping the key data points we just went over, we compared Goodyear's utility rates with other cities. We talked through the pros and cons of adding a stormwater fee, and a few weeks later, we got back together in September to take a formal vote on the recommendations, which passed by a 4-2 count. The recommendation was captured, as I mentioned earlier, in a memo, which has been shared with council and attached to this meeting agenda. At this point, I would like to step aside for a minute and get a quick sip of water, and I will allow Chairman Brown, or former Chairman Brown, who was the chair of the Citizen Water Advisory Committee during the rate setting process, as well as our new chair, Mr. Shirey, who was recently voted in as chair and was a member during the rate setting process. I want to give both of them a minute to speak to council.
Good evening. Pleasure to be able to speak with all of you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Mr. Mayor and council. Thank you for your service and all that you do for our community. As part of the Citizens Water Advisory Committee, we've learned so much about how the city of Goodyear works to keep our prices low and to do things with excellence. And the many directors and such that we have met along the way, their work is greatly appreciated. As you saw there on the screen, there was a 4-2 vote to support the increase of the rate. Myself and Commissioner Gallego were the two that voted no. And I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you on why we did that. So, as members of the Citizens Water Advisory Commission, we have gained a greater understanding of the modern cost of maintaining healthy water and the future needs to find new water sources. It is understandable that rate increases have to be considered. Commissioner Chad Gallego and I voted no on the proposed increase as it was presented, since at that time the budget being presented tonight is better with some changes and with including the total removal of adding the stormwater increase. Respectfully, I ask the council to be considerate of the current, near future and extended future of how our city growth can be viewed through the lens of water. To build, live, and sustain our city with the highest quality of life, it will always start and end with water. We are aware that the 100-year water certificate is required, but this certification also requires that it be requalified every 10 years. There will be significant costs to maximize our current real water credits that we currently have, and there'll be even more significant costs to find new real water credits to facilitate the future growth. So please consider what the current cost a citizen pays for water today and how high that will increase going up year after year. As you saw in the presentation, it looks like a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there, but it's aggregating every year, and it's getting significantly higher. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. So this is one of the things that stood out to Commissioner Gallego and myself, was like, this is a very significant increase that's going to be going on, because in the back of our mind, we understand that there's going to be other costs that are coming, finding these new water credits, new water sources. And so we were very concerned about looking at that overall cost when it was put together that way. So I just want you guys to consider this question. To be a citizen and a business owner in the city of Goodyear, how high is too high when it comes to your water rates? We do understand that our situation is unique. The quality of the water we have, the resources, water, and things like that, it makes our costs higher. We understand that, but we still ask the council to consider how high is too high. Myself, at the time I was the chair of the committee, I could not recommend that we as citizens say, yeah, this is a great idea with the size of the increase. That definitely falls on the shoulders of all of you, and we respect that. You have to make those considerations. But one of the things that I would suggest, other than just pointing out the obvious, is what can we do to mitigate the size of the water bill for our citizens and our business owners? The best suggestion I would have goes back to what we ended up looking at with stormwater. Stormwater is being supported from the general budget. And perhaps to keep some of these costs down, that rather than just saying it's all self-supporting, there may be a time when the council would have to think, is there a part of the general budget that should go to water as we have so much growth, we have new businesses coming in, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people stop, stay, they fill up with gas, they spend the night, they vacation here. Could some of that general budget be considered to keep our monthly rates at least closer to where they are, because we know where they're going? It's not an easy decision to make, but it is one that I'd ask the council to make, and that was my view from a Citizens Water Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Mayor and council members, my name is Robert Shirey. I am the new chairman of the Citizens Water Committee. Coming from a yay for support, I come from the water industry. I know what the cost of gaining water is. I know that, again, it's been told numerous times why we have to spend so much for water. Again, being in city municipality, I know how much we have to pay for water. I know how much it costs for us to treat the water. It's not getting any cheaper. We are post-COVID, everything, they're running with it. It's getting higher and higher. As a committee, I can speak for all of us that we, again, do not want to do rate increases because, again, we know the impacts they have. But to the contrary, it has to get paid for. Again, we were being very conscious of how much that was. Again, taking into consideration that stormwater is being paid out of general fund. Well, you have public safety being taken out of general fund that is taking a portion of that. Water and wastewater, again, it is important. It is public safety, because if you don't have clean water going out, it's a public safety concern. If you have poor water, public safety concern. Again, we don't enjoy talking about rate increases. I personally don't want my bill to go up, but I understand that it's a necessity to keep the system running, especially with new technologies. Again, water and wastewater is very unique because there's only certain things you can do to it to make it drinking water quality, or to treat the wastewater to then be able to put it back into the ground safely against all the regulatory agencies, because quite frankly, they make it harder and harder every year, which they should. It should be very, very hard to just release water without having some kind of stringent quality checks. So from the positive side, again, we don't want a rate increase, but we understand it is a necessity. We're growing. Again, you've given numbers this entire council meeting of how little our population started to where it is now. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you both for your words and your passion and dedication to serving your community. So, switching gears from the citizen committee involvement as a key stakeholder to involvement with council as a key stakeholder in this process. We've met twice since the citizen committee adjourned, essentially as in their role with the rate setting process. The first of which was on September 17th via a work session where only stormwater was discussed. From that work session, no formal action or direction was given. But then a second meeting occurred on October 21st as part of the council retreat, which I'd like to go through similar to what we just did with the citizen committee and give a little bit more detail as to what was discussed with council at that point in time. So at the council retreat, staff presented information in a very similar fashion to how it was presented to the citizen committee. We started by discussing the rate setting process. We talked through the various interactions between the city, our consultant, and the citizen committee. And then we went over each utility, talked about the existing system components, cost drivers. We confirmed recommendations are in compliance with our financial policy, and we shared the recommendations from the committee, as well as comparing all of our proposed rates to other cities in the valley. Probably the most important takeaway, as has already been discussed from the council retreat, was direction to remove the proposed stormwater fee from consideration, which means the remainder of this presentation, the scope of it is just with water, wastewater, and solid waste. So this slide, or very similar to this, was shown at the council retreat, and it compares Goodyear utility rates versus our other valley benchmark cities. This is publicly available data that anyone can access. I do want to point out that the amounts being compared on this slide are based on 9,000 gallons of water usage and 8,000 gallons for wastewater, where Goodyear residents on average use 7,500 gallons of water and 6,000 on the wastewater side. I also want to draw your attention to Liberty Utilities, which is highlighted in yellow just under Goodyear in the middle of this slide. Liberty is currently in the process of proposing 43% increases to their water bills and 54% increases on the wastewater side. And this, what is on this slide, is where Liberty would stack up after those increases go into effect. Now, there's two different ways you can look at that. On one hand, you could say Liberty hadn't increased their rates since 2018. However, now their customers are looking at around a $35 a month increase to their monthly bills. That was back of the napkin math. But I am a Liberty water resident, so I will be eating $35 a month in addition going forward. The philosophy here at Goodyear has been, from a rate setting standpoint, to take a more gradual approach and phase in rate increases when they're needed over time, as opposed to holding off and doing large increases all at once, which makes it much harder for households to absorb in their monthly bills. That being said, there is no way to get around that our rates are high, but similar to what has been mentioned a couple different times, I wanted to just take a second to reiterate some of the reasons why the cost might be high here in Goodyear. So we talked about these particular water and wastewater cost drivers in our Q&A portion of our council retreat in October, but I wanted to highlight them again. We talked about CAP, water being a large part of our water portfolio. Water is a finite resource, and water is not going to get any cheaper anytime soon. We talked about the DeLorean and going backwards in time. Because we have CAP water, our rates will likely continue to be much higher than others who benefit from having SRP water, which in order to get that, we would have had to have signed up for it back in the early 1900s. The second item on this slide, which we're also talking about already, has related to groundwater and the treatment of groundwater. So we have limitations based on the terrain and aquifer positions in the city where we can place our wells. Unfortunately, these locations aren't always optimal from a cost perspective, and thus these less than ideal locations add additional infrastructure to connect our wells to our existing system, which is yet another additional cost that other cities in the valley may not have to deal with to the extent that we do here in Goodyear. Last but not least, but somewhat related, as a standalone challenge, just wanted to talk about City of Goodyear's geography in general. It's roughly 31 miles north to south for the wastewater service area, so I-10 to the south of Goodyear, as the crow flies. But we have varying degrees of elevation within the city and development scattered both in the north and southern regions. This geographical setup leads to even more infrastructure challenges and the need for lift stations, additional miles of water and sewer main, just to name a few. Again, this as opposed to other municipalities who might benefit from more regionalized operations and facilities. So for example, in Goodyear, we have 3 water reclamation plants, 2 of which have quite small capacities, but are 50% more expensive to operate on a per MGD basis than our largest 157th plant. This setup makes it difficult to gain economies of scale as we continue to grow despite our best efforts to minimize costs on ratepayers. Now, the point of sharing this is not to point at any one of these in particular that's more or less important than the other, but more so to look at the unique makeup of all of these factors combined, which unfortunately put us in a difficult position right out of the gate to compete with other cities on cost. Now, what I just mentioned, we would consider at the city more or less fixed costs. When we're comparing ourselves to other cities, it's like doing a mountain climbing contest where getting to the top means the fastest means you have lower rates, except we're told we have to climb with one arm tied behind our back. So these fixed costs do make things tough. But what can we do and what are we doing is we're focusing on operational decisions on a go-forward basis to minimize the impact of future rate increases on our residents. This slide shows some of the additional cost drivers that we're looking at on a go-forward basis, which were discussed at the council retreat, and not surprisingly, start and end again with these capital and infrastructure costs. So if you continue with the assumption that Goodyear has a large amount of infrastructure to maintain, it's natural that if I was a council member or citizen, I would ask, what are we doing to manage those costs, right, on a go-forward basis? So let me first say again, staff is acutely aware of these cost drivers, and one of the ways we're managing these costs is sticking to our growth pays for growth philosophy, ensuring that new infrastructure that has to be constructed is paid for using development impact fees or via developer contributions. So the city's strategy has been and will continue to be to invest regularly in maintaining our infrastructure in a responsible manner. The key word there being responsible. Unfortunately, that likely means that these capital costs for infrastructure will continue to put pressure on rate increases in the future. However, our stance is that by managing these assets responsibly, that's the better alternative than to saving a few dollars to the point where our system teeters on the brink of failure. Other cost drivers, not capital in nature, but listed on the slide, include staffing. I think I mentioned specialized staffing as one of those cost drivers previously in the presentation. If you use the surface water treatment plant as an example, we are continuing to outsource that because it's becoming harder and harder to find staff internally that can do the things that we need them to do. Unfortunately, that puts additional pressure on our costs. And last but not least, operational cost pressures. So even though we are a public utility, that does not make us immune to cost pressures from suppliers and commodities. So our water and wastewater operations include over $5 million of annually in electricity, chemicals, and fuel costs that, just like residents, we have to do our best to try to absorb these versus passing them on to our ratepayers. Right off the top of my head, I know APS is proposing a 14% rate increase next year, and we're doing everything we can to absorb those costs in our models. So switching gears just to look at the solid waste program, I do want to reemphasize that our solid waste program is much more favorable when compared to other Valley cities. In fact, we're the 3rd most affordable program in the Valley at this current point in time. That being said, the same cost drivers you see for water and wastewater are the same cost drivers impacting our solid waste program. just on a smaller scale. Now these items, summary, we're there, I promise. So now that we've kind of walked through the timeline of what we've done previously in the rate setting process, we are at the current point in time, and let's see where that leaves us moving forward. So checking the box, like we talked about at the beginning, all of the rates proposed are compliant with our financial policy. We're covering 100% of our costs and minimizing the impact on ratepayers by utilizing other sources of revenue where available. This slide shows a visual of the proposed rate increases both for residential customers on the left and commercial customers on the right, along with current direction from both the Citizen Committee and City Council. You can see in red, despite Citizen Committee recommending the addition of a new stormwater fee per direction at our council retreat, as we've said, we will not be moving forward with that fee. So for Goodyear residents, this is probably one of the slides they care about the most, and this summarizes everything that we just talked about in the rate setting process. So this shows the monthly customer bill impact over our 4-year proposed plan. Think of this as a summary of the rate setting process as a whole. The total impact of the 3 proposed rates comes up to $8.50 a month, more next year for the average residential customer. You can see that amount in the total monthly bill impact line, which equates to about a 5.8 to 5.9% increase year over year for the next 4 years. This is the exact same information, except showing the average customer bill, not just the increase, which we showed on the previous slide. Again, the takeaway, 5.8%, 5.9% year over year for residential customers. Showing the same thing for illustrative purposes, just looking at commercial instead. Here are the increases. On the commercial side, the increase is around 6.5%. And the total bills, again, showing broken down by the various increases. That's 6.5% for the commercial side. All right, so this brings it to the last slide of the presentation, which shows the various touch points, which Keeney kind of hit on at the very beginning of this presentation. We talked about the Citizen Committee and the Council Retreat in depth. We've talked about the statutory requirements, which as of tonight all have been met. The next step in the process is the public hearing on December 15th. As Keeney mentioned, some of these touch points are above and beyond what is statutorily required, including the entire Citizen Committee involvement, as well as noticing to customers, which we will be doing here very shortly on their monthly bills. We'll be blasting this out on social media. We'll be putting an FAQ document out on our website, as well as putting it in our In Focus magazine here in December. So I'd like to close the presentation similar to how I started it by reemphasizing that all municipalities in the Valley go through these similar types of processes when they need to increase their utility rates. Per my own research, every Valley benchmark city either has an adopted or proposed water or wastewater increase for 2026, except maybe one of them. Of those on the water side, 6 have increases that are larger than what Goodyear is proposing in 2026, and 7 are larger than what we're proposing on the wastewater side. So nobody wants to increase costs. I don't, nobody at the city does. From a recent Government Finance Officers Association training that I attended, I think one of the speakers summed it up pretty well when the topic of rate increases came up, and he said, for better or worse, based on the state of things, if you're not increasing your rates, you're just kicking the can down the road. And with that, I'll turn it over for questions.
Before we get into that, can you go back a couple slides? Let's see, keep going. On the residential, the total piece there, because there's what's not in here is stormwater, right?
Correct.
Okay. Can you, and again, unfortunately right now, there's still affordability, understand. And I know we got to cover costs. But if you could get for me, because the stormwater is being covered by general fund, it's my understanding that's already been budgeted, correct? So that's not, we're taking anything away, that's already in there. Can you get for me what the general fund subsidy might be for each 1% that goes down on that rate for 2026.
Yes.
Okay?
you can get
And the
that
only
for-
reason why I ask that is you can use, when you talk about police and fire and all, that's ongoing. But as we grow and you've got construction, even though I don't like using one time for that, but if there's a possibility to try to get over the hump in 26, only because I believe it's going to get better in 27 when some of the legislation makes its way through. Could be wrong on the federal side, but to help some of those people out right now that are having those issues. Like I said, I was at the grocery store there. I couldn't believe the cost it was just to get, they say Thanksgiving meals going down, but it wasn't from when I left that grocery store. But anyway, what 1% of the general fund, and I'm not talking about something that takes away from fire, police, or anything like that, possibly a pot of one-time, construction, sales tax, et cetera, what that impact would be, because I have no idea. I mean, it may be something we can absorb, it may be something we can't, because I know we got to cover costs, but I really think 26 is still tough out there for a lot of people, and if we can cut a little bit of a break, I think that would be nice. That's just my 2 cents worth. So with that, I'll throw it here to you.
Yeah, thank you. I think to all the hard work of the Citizens Committee as well, going through this and voting and helping us out. So I had kind of similar question here. I know we need to raise it. I know it needs to pay for itself. So we need to continue to grow the infrastructure, and that's going to take money to do that. So, but my question is somewhat similar to the mayor's. And if I look at slide 29, what would be, how much general fund money would we be if we did $140 versus almost 100, get close to 180? I'm just curious what that, I'm just curious what those numbers would be. How much, if that's if that's a necessarily ongoing, but maybe it's one time, so we can at least subsidize that a little bit, and then as everybody else continues to raise their rates, if we stay $5 below the top people, I don't know, something like that, to make sure we're not the number one in cost in the state of Arizona, or at least the county here. So I'd be interested in that, what that number would be like. Other than that, yeah, I think we definitely need to increase something. So we're not gonna be able to not increase something. So, but I'd just like to make it an easier impact on our residents, because it is tough, and there are a lot of fixed income residents, and there's a lot of just a lot of increases all around, like you stated with APS and everybody else. So if I can try to absorb it a little bit, at least for a season or a time, I think that I'd be interested in that. So I know we're not taking any action today, just wanted to voice that. So thank you.
Councilman Terry.
Thanks, Mayor. Ryan, we've mentioned enterprise funds as kind of the source of that. Can you expand a little bit on what makes this an enterprise fund? Kind of what happens if we run a surplus deficit? For example, can these fees, I guess, working your way to it, can these fees be paid or used to pay, for example, your salary or other costs other than what we're specifically talking about here?
Yeah, so what we're doing today is driven by our city financial policy. So to do anything that the mayor or council member Hampton was suggested would take an amendment to our financial policy to change what we would consider an enterprise fund. Currently today, to answer your question, the answer is no. The enterprise fund only pays for the salaries and costs of people directly that are working for those programs here at the city.
Okay, thank you. And then we've talked about development impact fees. At the same time, talking about rate increases needed for investment in infrastructure. Where is that balance, or when this hearing happens next month? Where's that balance on what gets paid with a development impact fee or what gets paid just in an rate increase as far as our investments in our infrastructure? And is that strictly defined, or is that there wiggle room in there?
So the development impact fee process, similar to what we're doing with utility rates, has state statute guidelines around how often you have to revisit those and what you can or can't do with those fees. And so to go back and update our impact fees would basically take a similar process to what we're doing now, public engagement. Developers are typically the ones who push back because they are the ones likely on the hook for this. That's where the growth pays for growth mindset comes from. So it's very much so a conversation with them on what's reasonable and what our justification is for that.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then the stormwater fee, I know you said guidance is that wouldn't be coming forward. I just wanted to confirm that's not coming forward. That was, what, $2.20, so $4.50, almost $10 over the next 4 years on top of the bill that isn't going to be coming forward next month?
That is correct. We're not moving forward with that.
Okay, and then I appreciated the deference, or the defining the difference between Liberty, and you mentioned their rate increases. I heard from the forum last month, 40-something% in water, 54% wastewater. Unfortunately, when dealing with utilities, as the mayor said, when it came to groceries, the price of everything right now is through the roof, has been for several years. So, no, I agree with Councilmember Hampton. Something has to go up. We just need to probe around to make sure that we are not burdening our residents too much.
Before I go to Kano, just for real quick, when we talk about our financial policies, I recall in the past, when we did our water treatment facility, we used general obligation bonds, which on a somewhat kind of violated that policy a little bit, because general obligation bonds are paid with property tax, and we have multiple utility companies. So in essence, people outside of our system, because of the size of that water treatment facility and how we got that money, we're used to help pay for some of that because they felt the importance that everybody benefits. So it's not like it would be unique, I'll put it to you that way, as far as crossing that. So I just want to make sure that point's there, because some of you that weren't on this council when they actually did the general obligation bonds for the water treatment facility, which kind of crossed the line, because I was against that, lost that argument, but I just want to make sure that that's there. Go ahead, Councilmember Kano.
Well, first off, I wanted to thank you, Keeney, for the introduction and also the city's approach to be very proactive to get information out through social media and other ways. It's going to be difficult. We'll get a lot of feedback. I'm sure that there will be a lot of commentary in a lot of places, but it's the right thing to do. And just appreciate that history. I want to thank the Citizen Committee for the work that they have done. They were brought together to cover a myriad of water topics, and then we've always convened a Citizen Committee for rates, and they graciously took on this topic, which is a thankless job, honestly. They're residents or business owners here, and so they know that there is a big impact. And they got a lot of technical information to help them formulate their discussion and what their recommendations are. I mean, you were pretty technical tonight, but I mean, it really goes into, you were skimming along the surface for how difficult it can be. And so I just want to say how much we appreciate your work and that you recognize this is a serious undertaking, and definitely it has implications. Now, we've been hearing about our poor water quality and special treatment that's required, but I would like to ask Barbara if you could put in layman's terms about what makes our water so unique that makes it so expensive to treat.
Yes, so Barbara Chappell, Water Services Director. I guess I should introduce myself. Thank you. For our groundwater in Goodyear, we have one of the constituents is total dissolved solids. So we're the Salt River Valley for a reason. The reason they call the Salt River is because it's got a lot of salt in it. That is very hard to remove. Maybe not as hard as desalinating ocean water, but it's a very similar process. So many of the valley cities aren't as reliant on groundwater because they have multiple surface water sources, and they're also located upstream. Everything's flowing down towards the Southwest Valley, which is just accumulating all of those salts along the way, as well as nitrates from the agriculture fields. and there's naturally occurring arsenic down here. There's just multiple constituents that require very intensive treatment, and in some cases, multiple treatment processes at each facility.
Okay, so that definitely adds a lot of cost to it to ensure that you meet the legal standards of what you have to produce, and that's helpful. Now, there was a number of FTEs shown, well, full-time employees shown for each classification. Is that something that's going to be added all at once or every year? What's the plan?
No, we have those planned throughout the next 4 years.
Okay.
And we did our best guess for those future years. We will make sure that our workloads and our performance indicators trigger those new positions before we request them through the budget cycle. And so they'll be approved on an annual basis. This does not approve any FTEs.
Okay.
That's done through our budget.
What you're doing then is budgeting for them. When I look here at slide 29, and it shows Goodyear's rates, but our average water is 7.5 and the wastewater 6, but is this the bill for the 9 and the 8? The 9, the higher?
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't really show, it feels like apples and oranges in a way. It's like unnaturally high.
Yes, it's when we put this together, we wanted to find some unbiased public available data.
Okay.
And it is very difficult to get historical. There's forward-looking information for utilities on rates that are coming, but going backwards in time is quite labor-intensive and difficult to discern. So because the Valley Benchmark cities had already put this together, we use that as our source of information.
Okay. Much of my career was spent with the City of Phoenix Water Services Department, and there is a philosophy about if you don't generate the money that you need to run, you end up deferring maintenance, you end up deferring work that needs to be done, which then becomes problematic in that once you get behind, it's really hard to get up. And because this industry is so regulated, then you can run afoul with all the myriad of governmental agencies, and or you can lose the public trust or have a public a water safety event. And so it's really imperative that we don't let our infrastructure go bad. When we talked about stormwater rate at the retreat, it was a higher amount than that 2.25, wasn't it?
At the retreat, at that point in time, no, it was not.
No, it was
there
the
was
same.
a previous scenario
Okay,
ran by the
because
citizen committee that they chose to go with this lower rate that
Okay,
was
because
presented.
it ended up with a substantial cumulatively. And these slides are hard because you just show each year, and there's only one slide with a cumulative, which really shows the true picture. So I think our concession, at least in my mind, is the impact on the ratepayer is that the stormwater was going to be out of the question. Most of us live in HOAs. We're paying HOA dues that are taking care of the stormwater on our immediate area that's feeding into the system. And so I felt like that was the relief for the rates, was to take that off, and it seemed like it was a lot. I guess one thing I would say, those of us who live in the Liberty service area, we're about to get a significant hike with no opportunity to have that subsidized by the taxpayers. So I would just caution that because you know, we're not going to get our money supplemented. But this is a really difficult thing to do. But unfortunately, the reality is that water is going to continue to be more expensive. Energy is going to continue to be more expensive. And I just went to a seminar about data centers and AI, and all the industry still wants to come here because our energy rates are still lower, which, you know, to us who pay our air conditioning bill, it feels crazy. But and it's just, it will change water behavior at home. I know that when I had a significant jump with Liberty before, out went the lawn and in came the artificial turf. Very, very careful about water. And now I'm going to have to, I'll see that we'll definitely get more careful. But it is really an unfortunate thing, but we have to stay We have to ensure that our water services can meet the needs and deliver that safe water, drinking water, and take away the other water, and make sure that, nobody is ever harmed by the work that they do. So thank you.
Councilmember Beckles.
First of all, Barbara, I wanted to thank you for your summary regarding why our water is so expensive. But my question is, where is most of the growth today? Is most of the growth south of I-10? Or is it north of I-10? Or
I might want to punt that question maybe to our economic development group or DSD group, maybe.
anybody?
I don't know off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
I would think south.
I think west.
Well, that's south.
Mayor, Councilmember Beckles, I think when you're looking south of the river, for example, we've got a lot more residential in that area, but between the river, I-10, a lot more of the industrial commercial development going on there. So it depends on what type of development you're probably talking about in there. But we do have a lot of growth coming up. A lot of the impact fees and things like that are generated north of the river. That's just the way the development's happening, but I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. That's good, thank you. Well, I think this whole question of water is pretty tough for everyone, but water is essential for all of us every day. I too worked in water. I worked in water for 8 years at another city. So I get how important that our enterprise funds, that we keep it where water pays for water, and we continue to do the things that we need to do to make sure that our water and our water treatment is what it is. And Councilmember Kano actually said it best, but this is a tough decision, and I think that your presentation has been very good at explaining, at least on our side, and hopefully our citizens can understand that we have to move forward with this. Thank you.
Anything else? Well, with this, there's no action required, correct?
Mayor?
So,
Mayor?
yes.
City manager.
Oh, city manager?
I do want to make, just clarify just how we move forward. There's some suggestions about going and looking at the rates and coming back, or sticking with our current recommendation. And in order for me to work with staff, I want to be clear. At this point, we would stick with our current recommendations unless I'm directed differently.
No, my question is I wasn't necessarily not going with, I wanted to know what the impact would be for that account, because if the impact's minor, I might want something a little less. So I have no way to base that decision until I know what that impact would be if 1% was lowered instead of 5.8, it was 4.8 or something like that. So I have no idea. Are we looking at 100,000, one-time money? Are we looking at 50,000? Are we looking at 300,000? I mean, if it's significant, then obviously I don't want to tap that, because I'm a firm believer that utility rates should cover its cost, and not cut any of our maintenance, because you fall behind, it's just worse. You know what I mean? Like Liberty's doing. That strategy makes no sense, but that's from my perspective, that's all.
In order to get that back and actually have a discussion or further conversation around it, we may have to delay our process some, because public notice does go out tomorrow. So we'll get back with you on that.
Can you do an executive summary or something on what that impact may be, or?
But then it would need council direction, consensus from council as to the whole council.
I got you. Well, it almost sounds like the council itself is pretty much set on the rates. I might just be an outlier, so when I get the information, so I don't want to hold up your process for that.
So we'll move forward with our yeah.
Well, I'm curious for the number, but if we hold up, how much do you hold up for that information?
So, Mayor and Council, with the public posting that we did, the statutory requirement, it sets a guidance for what's the maximum council can set a rate increase. So in the interim between now and the public hearing on the December 15th, we could run some scenarios that would still allow you to either go up to the recommended rate that
Oh,
we
okay.
posted or something less,
Okay.
but
But we will not be able to notify the public of what those rates will be. Because we have the max, but where they fall, somewhere in that range, we could do a range, we can work it out. But I just want to make it clear that we can get you the information, but we want to make sure our residents are informed of what they possibly could be looking at for the December 15th public hearing. We can, yeah, we'll stick with the high. We're good?
Does that make sense?
Yep. We'll stick with the rates right now. We'll give you the information, and then we can see where the public hearing ends up.
Okay. All right. We good? We good? Okay. So now one last item is to approve the letter of intent for the GSQ public parking garage.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Roy Massey, the City Attorney. And there we go. And the item I'm presenting tonight is a proposed letter of intent for the construction of a public parking facility at the GSQ development just to the east of our current complex. I've promised the city manager I wouldn't go more than 45 minutes on my presentation this evening, so.
Can you make it a little less than that?
The item you have in front of you this evening is a proposed parking garage just to the east of the facility. We've had negotiations and discussions with RG Land Developers, which is the partnership of Red Development and Globe Development, the developers for the GSQ development. Looking long-term towards the development of the GSQ project, which is our new city downtown, we're looking to facilitate a public parking facility to promote a walkable downtown space. We certainly saw an example earlier this evening of big parking lots, and that's certainly looking forward. We want to provide a well-lit, safe, convenient public parking facility for our public as the site continues to develop. As we've certainly witnessed over the last couple of weeks with Trader Joe's opening, there's a lot of momentum on the site. And over the next couple of years, you're going to continue to see that momentum on the site. So we're trying to put together the documents and the agreement to get ahead of that in the construction of a new public parking facility. So with that overview, this is not the final document that's in front of council this evening. This reflects high-level discussions with our proposed partners and the major deal points that we would, if we would receive council agreement this evening, incorporate into development agreements that would likely bring back after the holidays at the beginning of the year. So just the high points of the agreement that we've reached with RG Land Developers is that it is a letter of intent to construct a new downtown parking facility. It would be public parking facility owned and maintained and operated by the city. Globe Red would donate the land required for the public parking facility. The city would fund the construction of the facility. Globe, I keep saying Globe Red, is RG Land Development. They would manage the construction of the parking facility. The city would fund it as the project proceeded. It would be a 600 space facility. Just for comparison, we have 2 parking garages adjacent to City Hall. The city-owned facility to the north is about 900 spaces. The Globe-owned facility to the south is about 525 spaces. So just slightly larger than the current Globe parking garage across from the Banner building. The parking garage would also incorporate a public safety substation of approximately 1,500 square feet. As the GSQ site continues to be activated, we certainly anticipate a lot of activity, a lot of citizen involvement, a lot of customers in that area. Certainly want to have a space for our public safety departments to have a home base in that area. That probably going to consist of meeting rooms, areas for police officers to write reports, perhaps a temporary holding facility, just those facilities for our public safety partners incorporated into the middle of the GSQ facility. The city, again, would fund this, the construction of the site. We're estimating it's a conservative estimate, about $25,000 per space. That's certainly higher construction costs than our previous parking facility, but that was almost 5 years ago. Costs have greatly increased, certainly concrete and steel. We think that's a conservative estimate to fund the garage itself. That is about $15 million is our estimate. That does not incorporate the public safety facility and doesn't incorporate the surrounding public spaces. We are anticipating a public plaza in front of the parking garage, kind of a gathering space as people arrive before they depart to the adjacent commercial areas. That's going to be a little bit higher level gathering space. So that's also included in the cost of the garage. Certainly, all of the construction costs are within our anticipated budget for the project, which will be funded probably starting the next fiscal year. Globe and Red would be required to follow public procurement during the course of this construction project, much as they did in the construction of the City Hall and the Civic Center Park. They constructed on behalf of the city, but certainly followed state procurement rules in constructing those facilities. Globe and Red will share in the operations costs on an annual basis of the garage. We're going to split the cost 50-50 for the ongoing operations. So while we will own and operate the garage, they will share in the cost of running the garage on an annual basis. We will consult with Globe and Red on the design of the garage pre-construction, certainly making sure we're getting a design we like for the site. The design elements are consistent with the site and they work for the city and the operations. We will also be, during that process, looking at whether or not we want to build in the capability to expand the garage in the future. You can construct a garage that can be expanded in the future that will certainly increase your costs, but it's an investment in the future. As long as that, yeah, it can be either, Councilmember Campbell, you can either go up or you can go out. So we're going to look at those options as we go through the design phase. If they make sense, they'll be built into the final construction contracts. And Globe and Red will be authorized or for reimbursement of up to $500,000 in pre-design services as we move through the process, so we can get the project moving as quickly as possible, with the goal of having the garage constructed and conveyed to the city by early 2027. With that, I will answer any questions council may have about this exciting project.
Okay, any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? Let's see, will the council please enter a motion and a second to approve the letter of intent with RG Land Partners, LLC, for the GSQ Public Parking Garage to facilitate the acquisition and construction of GSQ Public Parking Garage. Let's see, I see a motion and I see a second. Councilman Terry, you're up.
Thanks, Mayor. Rourke, I won't take up the rest of your 45 minutes, but the opportunity costs when it comes to building this garage, not building this garage would, to my understanding, require less spaces for retail and commercial development. I don't know if Wendy may have an answer, but kind of what are we looking at if we were to lose 4 to 6 businesses out of GSQ, the potential economic impact that could have over, the course of maybe 5 to 10 years. Does this, I guess what I'm getting at, as far as a way of framing a question or an argument, is there an argument that could be made that by building this garage, we are recouping some of those dollars in economic development over the course of time?
I will step in and try to answer. I'm not the economic development director, but that's certainly the thought process going into providing a public parking garage. You see, this is not a final design for the GSQ project, but you certainly see that some of those areas where you're seeing future buildings, you're going to have to be constructing additional parking if you don't have this parking garage. So you certainly would have less retail and commercial opportunities on the site absent a public parking garage. And now she's here. Anything to add? Okay.
That's good enough, thank you. I didn't mean to surprise you, Wendy.
Vice Mayor?
I know this is just a letter of intent, but is there any reason that we would add signage so that we agree with the garage that there'll be signage or arrows pointing to wherever they need to go? Or is that later down the road?
Oh, as far as signage within the site, I think there's some master signage.
We would
plans
want a
that's really
signage for
any
the
question, but that-
substations,
Certainly.
and it should be to what we want.
Mhm.
And then we need any other, however we want to say that it is our garage.
The document clearly states it's our garage.
Okay.
The future development agreement indicates that while they're managing the construction of the project, at the end, it'll be conveyed to the city, and the city will own and operate the garage. It will be our responsibility.
Okay, well, we can figure out putting a sign or something, because the public isn't going to know any of that.
We will make sure it is well signed, that it is a public garage, and certainly part of the goal of having the police and public safety substation there is to have some visibility on the site, certainly so the public is aware that there is a public safety facility, and we have public safety on site, and they have resources if they need them in that area.
But we'll see more of this later down the road, right? I
You
just
will
want to
see
be
it
sure
again.
maybe we put blue lights throughout the whatever, so that they know they can push that light and they'll get help right away. Like
Council-
they do at Curlin Commons and all the other big.
We'll take your, certainly comments into account tonight, and you will see this again. This is the agreement to make sure we're on the right track as far as reaching major deal points as far as the construction of the garage.
Okay. Don't see anything else. Open up for a vote. Passes 7-0. Thank you. Does the council have any comments, commendations, report on current events or anything? Yes. Go ahead.
I actually have a couple of kudos and one not so much. But I want to say, first of all, Benita, I loved your comment about leadership is trust. I love that comment. That is so true. The veterans events last week were awesome, absolutely awesome. I went to all of them. I think a lot of us did. They were awesome. And I just want to take a minute to say thank you to all the veterans here in Goodyear. Thank you for your service, because there was a lot of people that attended a breakfast, a lunch, even the artwork that we had out in Civic Square. It was awesome. And so I just want to say thank you to all the Goodyear veterans that live here, and thank you for your service. I also want to thank Myra from Romans for giving that shout out to Robert Ito. We don't hear that very often, and Robert is also incredible to be helping her with what she's been going through. She's had an 8-year project, which is crazy, for a landmark that we obviously want to keep in Goodyear, and it's been nuts. What's been going on there, and hopefully she's been very patient about all this, and hopefully we're able to take care of that soon. But thank you, Robert, for everything that you did in helping Myra with what you just did. Also, a shout out to Officer Scott Daniels. He is amazing, and the time he's put forward in all of the sober living homes, or whatever we're calling them today, has been amazing. Please, Brian, pass that on to him, because I don't think he gets enough credit that he deserves. I think he's absolutely awesome. Also, this is something that's very close to my heart, and to the Jewish population, and I see most of them have left here, but I see a few of my friends sitting in the front here. Thank you for staying. This was a long meeting, and I think you deserve this. I'm sorry. I'm going to say I'm sorry that we fell short, because you brought this to me last year when it was done the way it was done. And there were pictures taken, as I told you, and I did deliver it to the city manager's office. There were no lights. It was sitting out in the weeds, is what you called it. And I was informed that it would not be there again. So the fact that I'm confused, to be honest with you, because I was under the impression that it wouldn't be there. So you shouldn't have had to come here, because the inclusion of whether it's a Christian, Jewish, whatever population, should all be part of something. And I'm sorry that you had to come here and go through this, because you shouldn't have had to do that. We should have put it somewhere else, which is where I was told it would be, and the lights would be on it, and it would be different this year. And obviously, it's not. And so I give kudos to the city manager for relocating it. I'm glad about that. And I'm glad that you all came here today. All of your group came here and offered, you know, we're rectifying it in some way. Thank you for that, and I apologize. My Jewish and Italian heritage is very important to me. And so I thank you for everything that you've done.
Anything else? Go ahead, Benita.
Yes, first of all, as a 30-year veteran, I also want to thank the city for our veterans program. I think it's a great program. And Vice Mayor Campbell had mentioned several months ago about the banner for some of our citizens. And so I want to thank them for coming up with they call it the Banner of the Brave. And that was very heartwarming. So I really appreciate that also. But thank you for the veterans program.
Anything else? With that, how about city manager? You got anything?
Nothing, Mayor.
Nothing. All right, then. Then this next meeting will be December 8th. There'll be no further business. This meeting is over.
I was impressed. You walked beautiful.